Warm greetings from the High 10. It is Everyday Shenanigans. Thank you for joining me. Happy holidays to the viewing audience. This information I'm bringing to you was uploaded December 8th, which was Thursday. 6 ABC News is the source. New police body cam released as investigators reveal the new lead in killing of the Idaho college students. Thank you for joining me, everybody. Let's see what we got here. Waiting to upload. Thanks a lot.
This morning, a new clue in the search for the killer of 4 University of Idaho students. Detectives now asking the public for help locating a white 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra, similar to these stock photos, with an unknown license plate, saying they're interested in speaking with its occupants, who may have critical information to share regarding this case. Police also saying the car was seen in the immediate area of the home where the victims were killed early on November 13th.
That can mean a number of things. It could be that they have eliminated all the cars in the proximity of the victim house. They cannot figure out what or why this car was there that night. This could be just an elimination, it could be a witness, or it could be a suspect.
Now, as the investigation enters its 26th day, ABC News obtaining new body camera footage from that night, showing an unrelated police stop nearby at about 3 a.m., around the time authorities believe the murder took place. Police stopping 3 people for an alcohol offense in a field near the victim's home and near the Sigma Chi fraternity, where 2 of the victims, Zayna Kernodle and Ethan Chapin, had been earlier that night. People in the video have been cleared, and the incident was not related to the murders, but analysts say the video could still be used in the case.
It can be used from a historic standpoint. That information could potentially become relevant later in the investigation because you just never know.
The victim's home remains an active crime scene, but on Wednesday, investigators gathering items no longer needed in the investigation to give to the victims' families.
We just went in to gather belongings so that the family can have some of that stuff. You know, we have a job to do. We're going to do it to the best of our ability, and we owe this to the family. We owe this to the victims.
Well, victims' families have been growing increasingly frustrated with the lack of developments in this case. One of the victims' fathers has actually hired an attorney in the hopes of getting some answers on his own. Mola Langi, ABC News, Denver.
All right, everybody. That's the sad information coming out of Idaho. Thank you so very much for joining me.
This morning, a new clue in the search for the killer of 4 University of Idaho students.
Replaying itself. Sorry about that. Let me bring you the information. Thank you for joining me. Authorities there are trying to track down a car they say was in the area the night 4 University of Idaho students were killed. Investigators think that whoever was in it may have some important information to the investigation. A new clue has been released Thursday in the Idaho murder mystery. Detectives are now asking the public for help locating a white 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra with an unknown license plate, saying they're interested in speaking with its occupants who may have critical information to share regarding this case. Police also said the car was seen in the immediate area of the home where the victims were killed early on November 13th. That can mean a number of things. It could be that they have eliminated all the cars in the proximity of the victim's house. They cannot figure out what or why this car was there that night. This could be just an elimination. It could be a witness. Suspect, said ABC contributor and former FBI agent Brad Garrett. Now, as the investigation enters its 26th day, now, mind you, this was 2 days ago, ABC News obtained new body cam footage from that night showing an unrelated police stop nearby at around 3 a.m., which is around about the time authorities believe the murder took place. Police stopping 3 people for an alcohol offense in a field near the victim's home in the Sigma Chi fraternity, where 2 of the victims, Zayna Kernodle and Ethan Chapin, had been earlier that night. All the people in the video have been cleared, and the incident was not related to the murders, but analysts say the video could still be used in the case. It can be used from a historical standpoint. Information could potentially become relevant later in investigation. You never know. The victim's home remains an active crime scene. However, on Wednesday, investigators gathering items no longer needed in the investigation to give to the victims' families. We just went in to gather belongings so that the family could have some of that stuff. You know, we have a job to do. We're going to do it the best of our ability, and we owe this to the family. We owe this to the victim, said Chief James Fry from the Moscow Police Department. Police urge anyone with information to upload digital media to FBI government.Moscow, Idaho, lowercase, or contact the tip line at ci.moscow.id.us or 208-883-7180. Hello, everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining me. So these young men were cleared, as you see, when you go watch the video, ABC 6 News, 3 Caucasian males, obviously pulled over, alcohol offense not related to this case thus far, but naturally, they can always go back to question people who in or around proximity know of the victims. That's with any investigation. I'm also going to bring you information pertaining to someone who was arrested for serious offenses in the general area. Also, a white Elantra between 2011 and 2013 is a car that is being investigated. Do not have tags, no identifications of the people. But what I'd like to know is when it says occupants, who was the person that gave the tip to say occupants? Because that means plural. So how many people are alleged to have been in the vehicle? Where was the car parked? Close proximity to the house, in front of the house, beside the house, going up that driveway to the apartments. Where was this car? Around the corner? Who called in that tip? And why? And the usage of occupants, meaning plural. Did they see a lot of people sitting in the car? Could be some kids goofing off, smoking. Could have been teenagers. Who knows? I don't know. We will see. And if it does have something to do with the case, that will make it even worse because now you're talking about more than one killer. If this is accurate information or has something to do with the slaying of the 4 students. Thank you for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $Beganji129 Cash App. All Super Chat stickers are welcome during this live. Let's get information pertaining to the man who was arrested on some violent offenses out there. Give me 1 second to get my information. And also, this Joseph Morris, who is a YouTuber, Mr. Ikamel has decided to run some information that he's uploaded to be fake and fraudulent of sounds pertaining to this case, which is very disturbing and sick. But I do believe this Joseph Morris is just somebody that's another tragedy pimp, just finding cases pertaining to death and using it to his advantage to make videos. As you see, I have not posted one video pertaining to anyone that social media has involved in this case. I will not glorify anyone just because another network has decided to put up content pertaining to a Jack, a Job, a John, a killer, somebody who stabbed their girlfriend, wife, kid. I don't rock like that. And I'm not going to be making videos on social media speculations. You're entitled to your opinion of what you believe happened in that house and who you believe committed the crime, but you won't find it on this network because I'm not building my channel off of speculations and innuendos and hyping up people who you don't know, because each day the suspect changes. So that's why I'm not writing on anyone that's been mentioned off of social media. Thank you for your time. We're going to discuss all the he said, she said of neighbors giving information allegedly about the crime, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to bring all that to you. My weekend movie is The White Orchid. Please check it out. It's a very interesting tale. Now playing on Tubi. Thank you for joining me. We're going to go over everybody that's been implicated in this crime thus far. I'm looking for the information right now. Give me a minute because I have a lot of videos I've uploaded to my community board. Please go to my community board for the latest information pertaining to this crime. Also, Brittany Griner is now a free woman. She's touched down American soil, leaving behind a Mr. Whelan who's been in a Russian prison for 4 years. That's one of my other updates. Let me see. Okay, hold on 1 second. Trying to get it all. I've got a lot of videos. Lord have mercy. And also there's a story I'd like to cover. It's coming out of Houston. 3 men have been found in waterways in Houston. Are they connected? Is it a serial killer out there? Somebody drugging men for fun, funny games, and dumping their bodies? Or these 3 random men just drunk, inebriated, high, and decided to go crash into waterways? Very interesting. Police, Idaho convict arrest not connected to the student killings. This was uploaded 16 hours ago. Thank you for your time. Bringing you the latest developments, allegedly not pertaining to the case and pertaining to this investigation. So far, the only tip is the white Elantra. The rest so far are not related. The 3 students at the field and this guy here who's been arrested. Here we go.
In this case, Kathy Mabbitt, who I interviewed here on this show 2 weeks ago about the autopsies that she oversaw in the Idaho murders. Kathy Mabbitt just happens to be James Leonard's defense attorney. I know this is a lot to process. Fortunately, I have one of the best in the business to help me navigate through this. Michael Harrigan is a retired FBI special agent. He's the former chief of the Federal Violent Crime Criminal Apprehension Program, and he's also a former police officer. So, Michael Harrigan, I don't know where to start. We got a guy with a gash in his arm. Okay, maybe the wound is more recent than one from 3 weeks ago. He's violent. He has a penchant for knives, was found with 2 of them on him, has no problem beating up women and daughters, people close to him, and has no problem shooting a man dead because they were in an argument about girlfriends, and then asking to bury the body secretly so no one could see it. Do you have a shovel? That's the kind of guy I would think would be, it would be hard to rule him out quickly. It's only been a couple days since he was arrested. So can you help me walk through maybe why the police are saying that his arrest is unrelated to this murder? Nothing to see here.
Well, Ashley, good seeing you again. And this is an interesting turn of events with this individual who's close to there and the circumstances of the knife and the assault and his prior criminal history. So this guy would have been somebody the investigators would have been all over on this one, looking at him. But it wouldn't be probably too hard to rule him out if they knew he was somewhere else at the time the crime was committed.
And we would believe the people, but that's important, right? Because who would, maybe he was with his wife and the teenagers, and they're terrified of this guy. So why would they not say anything that would give him an alibi on something as horrible as a quadruple murder? We know what he's capable of doing if he's not angry with them.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. It all depends on how the alibi is established. And, it could be video evidence. It could be a non-associated person that he was with and other people saw him. It could be anything. But you also have to remember in these cases, too, that just because someone is put aside and is ruled out initially,
exactly,
they're always kept in the back. I mean, there's always a record of these interviews, and they're always looked at maybe down the road. But I would think that with these characteristics that came out in the media, that they would have been clearly focused on this guy quickly. And for them to say that he's off the plate, I would say they probably have some pretty solid indicators that he's not involved.
I hope so. Okay, how about Kathy Mabbitt, the coroner? She's his defense attorney. This couldn't be more weird. Is this a conflict of interest, or is this how small town things have to work out? There's only so many defense attorneys and coroners.
That's a really, it seems like a very odd turn of events. And the nature of living in a small town, which I've lived in some small ones over the years, is that a lot of times these professionals and the lawyers and others, and the coroner is generally either appointed or elected, is they all have other jobs, like this, in this case, the attorney. So it's not unusual in a small town to have some cross pollination there between professions. What makes it interesting is with this individual and the visual on it, him, the circumstance of his background and some of the internet chatter about him potentially being connected here, or the questions about that. But until the police find that he is actually a person of suspicion or a person of interest, and there's something there, I don't think there's really an ethical issue there, because, she's an attorney, she represents people. But if there was a situation where this individual was under suspicion, and she knew that, she would probably have to recuse herself pretty quickly there.
It's fascinating, to see a case like this all of a sudden pop up. And like I said, the internet went, it broke over this guy with a big bandage on your arm. I mean, obviously people would be concerned about that. Michael Harrigan, thank you. It's been good to have you, and I can't wait to have you back. Thank you for watching.
All right, everybody, that's Battlefield News Nation. Very interesting information here. Once again, more crazy nonsense to me, implicated in this crime. We have a man who has some violent offenses, and his attorney happens to be the alleged coroner, who we found out was not really qualified to be called a coroner. So the story just gets more weird and weirder by the moment. Small town titles given to people, kind of like the sheriff being the pastor, the sheriff being the undertaker. That's what this town sounds like to me. A really, really bad Western movie playing out in real life pertaining to 4 victims. And sadly for them, they had to be murdered and die in this small town with this. To me, it's craziness. Because now you have a woman who gave us information pertaining to the dead children. Now we find out weeks later, she's representing somebody that everybody wanted to put under the knife as the killer. But he's been cleared, possibly through work. Who knows? He may work 3rd shift. Seen on CCTV footage going in and out of a business establishment job, whatsoever. But naturally, they can always go back and question him if they get information or evidence that leads to him. But just the fact of him having this woman as an attorney, and she's the coroner. So now she's the coroner / attorney. So what is she, private attorney or a public defender? Does she work for the public defender's office, or she's a private attorney working for herself? So we have a triple titled individual. Coroner, attorney, nurse. What other titles does she hold? I'm just curious. Because this is becoming like a bad joke instead of real life crime. You rarely hear stuff like this. It's almost like the movie, the documentary I watched on ABC last night, 2020. A guy pretends to be a doctor. He's injecting this woman with some type of something to cover up scars. He ends up killing her and burying her in his backyard, garage or whatever. Then goes on the run in Costa Rica. That's what this sounds like to me. Oh, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, engineer, CEO. Choose a box. She's multifaceted. And it's not to make light of her, but it's looking, as I said, a very bad joke coming out of Idaho. We will see what happens with this. Nothing. Then we move on to the next information. Bringing you the latest developments pertaining to this very diabolical story. The latest information is coming out about neighbors reporting what they heard after the fact, but then one of the guys has contradicted himself. And then we also have another woman who's stating that she saw the door open, but that hasn't been verified. The police chief is numb and saying he doesn't know anything about that. So did the woman call the police or not? She couldn't have called the police because she says he doesn't know anything about it. So are these people doing what everybody else is doing, jumping on the bandwagon, piggybacking off of other sick internet junkies, wannabe armchair detective sleuths, just to get 5 minutes of attention, 5 minutes of fame on a very horrific story? Because in the end, these people are dead. They're not coming back. So to piggyback and pimp off of them is deplorable. And I got a feeling that's possibly where this is going, because if the chief does not have one phone call pertaining to anybody hearing a scream or seeing the door open, then these are some fabricators, or as we say in the street, test the liars. They're just lying for attention. Let's bring you that information. News Nation is the source. He may have heard a scream. Idaho neighbor tells reporters. Now, that's funny.
He is now telling the Idaho Statesman newspaper reporter that he did hear a scream, right, when he was going to sleep at 4 a.m. and that he didn't even mention that to the police. Perhaps now the police will re-interview him about what he says he heard and what he says he saw. And then there is this story of what another neighbor saw. Reports that that neighbor told the police that she saw the front door of the kid's home wide open about 8:30 a.m. on the morning of the murders. And if that detail was known to the police as well, it sure didn't seem to make its way to this guy, the chief of the police, James Fry, because when asked about it yesterday by the Daily Mail newspaper, Chief Fry said this was news to him. He said this, and I quote the paper, "I'm not even sure where that came from, to be quite honest." I'm confused. I don't know about you, but I want to bring in Caitlin Becker because she is a senior reporter for thedailymail.com, and that's the newspaper that got that interview. So Caitlin, I am not quite clear on how the chief of police couldn't have heard anything and seemed surprised by your newspapers even asking the question about the open door. Because if there's one detail that would stand out among many, it would be that the front door of the house where the murders happened was wide open just 4 hours or so after those kids were killed, and multiple hours before anybody would wake up.
Actually, the neighbor told us that it was 8:30 in the morning and the door was wide open. It stood out to me. It stands out to you. It is very curious that the police don't seem to have any information about this. I don't know if that's because maybe some people are hesitant to talk to the police versus talking to a reporter, but the question remains now that we've reported it and it's out there, the police still don't seem to have commented on the fact that the door was wide open that very morning.
And they've had multiple officers for 26 days. Just this scene last night, 5 more agents going in and out of that house. These were very unusual looking agents though. They didn't have any evidence bags. They went in, they went out, didn't take any notes as they were walking through the house. We could see that through the window. They certainly appeared to be FBI, maybe on a go-see to get familiarized for the first time because they've added new FBI agents to this case, but they wouldn't answer our questions either as they walked by, kind of hid their faces, which was unusual as well. But I digress. I want to ask more about those local cops and the chief himself. We have been begging to get the police in an interview so that we could ask some of these questions for clarity, not even to give us, I'd like information about the case, but just to get clarity on their messaging. And they refused. They just flat out refused to do any interviewing with me particularly and many of our reporters and producers. Thank you for watching. Go to News Nation now.
Banfield, everybody, News Nation. So we've got some undercover agents who've been to the house. What were they looking for? What were they searching for? What have they brought out of there? We also heard the other day that they were inside doing more work inside. Also, things have been packed up to send off to the families. So why do we have these undercover people there? What are they looking for? What are they searching for? Did they miss something? See, this is the reason why many experts have said you don't clear the scene just yet, because you can't go back once you clear the scene. So now it's interesting to have items packed up that they don't think is relevant to the case, but yet you still have agents going back. So are they doing trace evidence inside of the house, looking to make sure they are catching every place where there are stains, there may be blood spatter, semen, urine, fecal matter, anything left behind, broken fingernails, all those type of things that you leave behind, fibers, any type of hairs from the victims, the perpetrators. Is this why they're going back? Because I thought they were going to wrap this case up this week. But as you see, they're still going inside. And naturally, they have to hide their faces because if they're undercover agents that do undercover work, then they wouldn't want their faces shown. Prayers for answers. No new update from the police department, naturally, because this is an ongoing investigation. Ask not to taint the investigation. But I'm sure the parents are antsy. And I'm wondering about Mr. Goncalves, who's hired an attorney and a PI allegedly. How's that working for the other family members? How do they feel about that? You don't hear any other conversations from them. And I believe that is the reason why the police has decided not to confer with him and possibly the other family members, because he talks to the media and they don't want him giving out any information. And then two, it's also dangerous to give families information because they could go out and exact revenge for themselves. Just imagine telling someone, well, we've got a good lead on this person here. And the next thing you know, you find out the lead's beat up or dead. So then there's no justice. The person doesn't the investigation doesn't follow through with that perpetrator or suspect, let's say, and you've already beat them up, killed them, now where do you take it? There's nowhere to take it. They have to keep some things quiet. Once again, Idaho neighbor tells reporters, heard a scream. Very interesting information. Very, very strange. Okay, let's see what else I want to bring you guys. So much. 2 days ago, News Nation. Why was HVAC contractor at the crime scene? Very interesting. Let's see what happened there. Did the killer put anything down the toilet in a vent? Hide anything there? Where is the murder weapon? Thank you for joining me.
Crime scene raises a lot of eyebrows. Could it be as simple as they needed to just keep the heat on, or could an investigator actually seek the professional assistance of somebody who knows air ducts and air systems?
I think that's really the two ends of the spectrum, isn't it? Actually, it's possible that this could be as benign as the heating went out on the building and they needed to get that thing going again, or it could be more complex. It could be that they are calling in professionals to assist the crime scene investigators in collecting filters and any evidence they could get from the filtration system of the home, the air ducts and other areas. Or it could be something as simple as they want to go back and take another look at the forensics inside of the home, and humidity is a problem, and they want to try to change the humidity in there so that they have a little better chance of collecting some evidence that otherwise is more difficult to see when you have lower humidity. So I think you got to kind of look at it from both ends of the spectrum, not get too focused on one or the other until they release a little information. And frankly, it could be preparatory now that we're seeing all of this evidence start to leave the home. It could be preparatory to starting some disaster cleanup, including cleaning up that HVAC system.
So, people online speculated they're looking in the air ducts for the missing knife, et cetera. And that is definitely not something that you would, bring in the HVAC guy for. However, I did wonder about intake systems. For instance, if some part of a crime scene or a struggle happened near an intake, I wondered if that might be something that an investigator would say, there may be clothing fibers, there may be skin cells of the perpetrator that went into this air intake. Would that be something that the investigators themselves could harvest, or would they need a professional? And could that professional do it in a way that wouldn't taint the evidence or the crime scene?
Yeah, I think that's where it really gets tricky, because we don't know if this individual was working in tandem with CSI to collect pieces of evidence. They have equipment like snakes with cameras on it that law enforcement could be leaning upon just to snake the ventilation system and see if there's anything that jumps out at them. If you said, I want to have somebody clean my ductwork, they're going to show you how ugly your ductwork looks by running a camera down there. So it may be that they have sophisticated equipment to allow them to do that. Or it could be as specific as saying, we want to very systematically remove the filters. We want to pull each individual cover to the HVAC system, and then look at that, and why not have an expert with us on the front end while the actual crime scene experts are backing them up and collecting things that they may or may not find. But again, I kind of go back to this whole idea of they're getting pretty close to what appears to be winding down. Could it be that they're starting to look at disaster cleanup, or maybe the heat went out?
Or maybe the heat went out. One last question, I only have 30 seconds left, but since you were the director of a cold case unit, you are the perfect person to ask. A lot of people are rumbling, has this case gone cold? Be the arbiter of what cold case actually means. And when you start to actually bring in people, like Mike King and the cold case unit.
I think cold case is really a tough word, and it's almost definitional by jurisdiction, but I don't think this is in any way, shape, or form close to being cold. I think they have hundreds of tips that they're still trying to follow up on. They have hundreds of things that they're developing. They have a ton of kids that went away for Thanksgiving and now the holidays and haven't come back to school, that they haven't had the chance to interview one-on-one. A video interview doesn't quite cut the same interview as being able to look into someone's face and see the reactions as they go through things. So I think they're a long ways from this being cold. That said, you got to treat it like a cold case and start bringing all the resources you can to support. And this department has done a pretty impressive job of rallying the state and federal resources to back them up. It doesn't look like there are real egos that are standing in the way of trying to find the truth.
It's important to mention that because the state and the FBI don't talk much. They really work behind the scenes, and they could be doing a heck of a lot of work that no one knows about. So while everyone's screeching that there, doesn't seem to be anything happening, there could be a lot happening. Mike, I sure hope you're going to come back on the show. It was really enlightening. Thank you for this. Thank you for watching.
Banfield, everybody, News Nation. She was speaking to Mike King. Mr. Mike King has a YouTube channel. HVAC workers there. What were they trying to find in the heating cooling unit? Anything evaporated into the unit? I don't know. It's very interesting information there, but this is not a cold case. As he said, you have to start from the beginning, work your way out. I'm praying that they're gathering the best evidence that they can gather of whatever was left behind. It was a gory scene, naturally. 4 people brutally stabbed multiple times. A few of the victims also fought back. So hopefully there will be some hair fibers, transferring of fibers from the victim to the perpetrator and vice versa. Praying there's DNA under the victim's nails. There may be fiber under their nails from, trying to fight back the attacker, perpetrator. So we will wait to see, but this is not a cold case. The FBI is involved in the state police, and they are seasoned to investigate crimes, forensics, investigation, interviewing potential suspects, witnesses. So where we may feel that Moscow is slow and lacking, I do believe the state and the FBI will pick up the slack. The only problem that's going to be, I think, with this Moscow Police Department is communications. And we see that now that they have a problem with responding to the general public about said things, such as target, not target, this limbo of going back and forth with the district attorney's office, who's at fault, who's on first. That to me is a major problem because these two are supposed to be working in unison. Thank you for joining me. Now we'll bring you more commentary pertaining to this crime. I have a lot of content. Please check my community board for the said information. News Nation, uploaded 1 day ago. Idaho police getting a lot of tips following the plea for help. Thank you for joining me.
Search for a killer there. Police searching for anyone who was in a white Hyundai near the home where those 4 students were murdered. And as we now near 4 weeks without a person in custody, it could be a critical clue in this investigation. News Nation's Nancy Liu has more on these new developments live tonight in Moscow.
Yeah, Nicole, police believe that driver and possible occupants may have key information about the fatal stabbings inside this home nearly a month ago. It is the first specific plea for public health since the murders, and police tell News Nation the community is responding.
We are getting a lot of tips.
There are all kinds of additional leads for Moscow police to investigate in the stabbing deaths of 4 students last month. That's after issuing an alert for information on a vehicle like this, a white 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra, which was spotted near the scene around the time of the murders in the early morning hours of November 13th.
The tips and leads have just shown us that that car was there in that immediate area. So whoever was in that car may know who might have owned that car. Any of that information is extremely valuable to us right now because it could be really significant in solving this case.
The The license plate is unknown, so locating the specific car may be tough.
Moscow PD, I'll preview.
Meantime, new body cam footage obtained by News Nation shows police near the home for an unrelated call around the same time of the murders.
How old are you guys?
Police say it was for underage drinking citations in the neighborhood.
Sign the yellow line is on admission of guilt. It's just saying that you acknowledge the crime date there, okay? That's the question I meant.
Police also tell us a white car seen in that footage is not the car in question now being sought. They stress key information is being withheld to protect the integrity of the investigation.
The information that we're giving is all about solving the crime. So knowing that we're not releasing all that information, know that we're keeping safe the information that we need to find who did this.
Now, between 2011 and 2013, Hyundai Elantras were extremely popular with well over 500,000 vehicles sold. It's not clear how many white models may be in this area. And we just got an update from Moscow police telling us that there are so many calls and tips about white Elantras. They are now diverting the tip line and directing calls to the FBI call center. Meantime, the family of victim Kaylee Goncalves has told News Nation that they have retained a lawyer, and that's reportedly to force police to give them more information. Nicole?
All right, Nancy Lou, thank you for that. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation.
News Nation Now is the source. So the woman that was speaking about information standing in front of the police department, I guess that is our municipal building. What is her role? And is she in official capacity as a communications PR person, or is she law enforcement? I'm curious to know that. Once again, 3 underage people cited for underage drinking, and this white Elantra has been introduced. Don't know if it's a witness or the perpetrator. But once again, as I've said, this is what happens when you start digging for information, digging for whatever arrest you can hear about in the town, such as that guy who hurt his daughter and wife, murdered someone, blah, blah, blah. The point is, you don't know what you're doing. This is an ongoing investigation. Just digging, trying to find anything you can to loop it into this case. You're going to get somebody hurt. As you see, all that digging about some damn police call at a football field has nothing to do. Just some kids goofing off, underage drinking. And that's expected. It's a small town like any other town in America. So whether we're in New York City or we're in Moscow, Idaho, you can't loop other things into a crime just because it happened 2 streets over. It's an area that's catering to students. And naturally, people are coming here for different reasons. They know people, they're related to people, they're coming to games, functions, other college kids and the other universities of Idaho. Also, those kids are going to be coming to the campus. So you can't say why somebody was there. Somebody got in an altercation 2 streets over. Oh, it must have something to do with these kids' death. Their deaths. I had a feeling it didn't have anything to do with it. The football field incident. Because that's the whole point. You don't know until it's released. Don't you think the police at some point would have told us that the incident was related? Because they know they live in a small town. They know how people talk. They know how people gossip. They had to have known it would get out. So somebody's just vigorously, going through Moscow 911 calls. Anytime somebody called 911, the 13th, the 12th, let me put this up on social media because it has something to do with these kids' deaths. And as you see, a bad boy who likes stabbing people allegedly has been cleared. 3 underage students drinking in a field, cleared. This jack of all trades everybody keeps talking about from the Grubhub, cleared. The other big guy that was going live explaining himself, cleared. The neighbor who couldn't stop talking to the media, Jeremy, cleared. And now we have a white Elantra. Once again, when did this tip come in? At the beginning of this investigation, or here recently, such as a couple days ago? Who called in the tip? Once again, who called in the tip? What is it about this car got notice from the police department? Sitting too long? People sitting in the car looking suspicious? Running in and out of the car? What? Very curious to know. Thank you for joining me. More information pertaining to this crime. Thank you so much for your time. That was News Nation if you need verification. Bringing you all the recent uploads. Most of my sources are News Nation. ex-FBI agent calls for more security. Let's see. Oh, no, this isn't what I wanted. Sorry. I thought this has something to do with my story. This is something else. Let's go to Brian Enton. He always does a good job giving us information. Brian Enton retraces possible route if Idaho killer was driving. Exactly. Was the killer driving or on foot? Brian Enton.
Known about how he got in or how he got out, which direction he came from, or how he escaped. There are only so many scenarios, and tonight we're going to give you an exclusive look. First, our senior national correspondent, Brian Enton, retracing the route that the killer would have to have taken if he drove that night to 1122 King Road.
So we're on Taylor Avenue right now. This is sort of a somewhat busy road between the Sigma Chi fraternity and where the murder house happened. There's a lot of apartment buildings, houses, a lot of kids going to and from. And then you turn onto this road here, which is King Road. This is actually the road that the house is on. I want to show you because it's dark out, so it's good perspective. But there's houses all over the place, both sides of the street here. Lights on, you see students coming and going all the time, walking around. Not a quiet place by any means, even at night. A lot of snow, dark in some areas, but a lot of traffic. I turn here, we're gonna get close to the murder house up here on the right, but you can see houses on both sides of the street again. There's media out here now, but again, normally the neighbors tell me there's a lot of people walking around, not necessarily a lot of cars. If you look to the right here, this is the house where the murders happened. Big driveway in front, room for a lot of cars. I'm gonna kind of get a little speed here because it's very snowy and icy. People have to go fast to get up the road. But right when you come around the corner here next to the house where the murders happened, there's a big apartment building on the left with at least 20 or 30 units. So again, a lot of people coming and going. Remind you, house where the murder happened is on the right here. And then we come up, I find this very, very interesting. This is a big parking lot, literally right behind the house where the murders happened. This would be a place where, look, I got stuck here. As I was telling you, the snow, it's hard to get up these. Let me see if I can get up. All right, I'm stuck. I'm gonna stop for a minute though. Parking lot, this is a place where someone could have stopped to come and go from the back of the house. A little bit wooded here. Behind the parking lot, but right on the top of that hill. It's not like a forest or anything. There's more houses up there. So this isn't like an area where there'd be a ton of places to hide. Again, a lot of foot traffic, a lot of apartments, a lot of houses. This is how you would have gotten in or out in a car. I'm going to show you at the end of the show more of how someone might get in or out on foot. Ashley?
That's just fantastic information, Brian. Thank you for that. And thank you for watching.
All right, Brian in News Nation. So it gives you a little guided tour in the dark of the street, house for house on either side of the street, and then you pull up to the House of Horse. Naturally, there's a house that sits right nearby. What did that person see or hear? Did anybody see the door open at 8:30 a.m.? Anyone can corroborate this story because there's a house that sits right to the left of their house. If that person was up, walking around, drinking coffee, looking out the window, did they see the door open? Now, he's going up the hill to the left of the property. To the right of the property, excuse me. On the right-hand side of the property, there's a driveway that goes to an apartment complex, about 20 units, vast parking for the people Is it possible that the perpetrator lied in wait up there, sat up there, had an area view of cars coming in? Because as I said, this property sits to the right of the house. If you were to sit there in a parking lot or park your car on the side of the drive as if you're waiting on someone, you would have an area view of people coming onto the property. All cars coming in from the left side road, coming down that road, you could see all the cars coming in one by one. You would have an area view. You could just sit there and gape and gawk in your car. If you parked your car on that road, going down on the right-hand side of the road, you could just sit there like you're waiting for somebody and just sit in your car and watch all the cars come in and out. Did the perpetrator lie in wait up there, either by foot or sitting in a car? I do believe someone had said something about homecoming or something happening that weekend. So naturally, there will be all types of parties, get-togethers. But on this fateful night, allegedly a neighbor says, a female, that she stayed up late, usually stays up late playing video games. And it's on this fateful night, it was quiet. Unusually quiet, considering this house usually has a lot of traffic and noise. So she didn't have to wear her headphones. Is that allegation true? Was it quiet at 3 a.m. on that street or the general area from that apartment complex down to that house? No parties? Why not on this fateful night? Did the girls decide that we'll party off of campus because it's festivity weekend? We'll party off campus. Xana and Ethan partied at their prospective places, frat house, so on and so forth. So everybody did their own thing on this fateful night. But when they returned home, little did they know that somebody was lying in wait. And once again, male neighbor says on Facebook, about 12 hours after the crime, once getting knowledge, didn't hear anything, no screams, no nothing. But now he's gone to a local a newspaper. I can't remember if it's Daily Mail or the Idaho Statesman, maybe the Idaho Statesman. Now you're saying, well, I think I heard a scream, but it could have been somebody partying. So why are you lying? Because you've posted to Facebook, no clues, no this, no suspect, no nothing, which I find interesting, 12 hours, because that's not even a whole day. So to even post that to social media is interesting. Didn't hear nothing, didn't see nothing, no suspect. How do you know what the police had? And unfortunately, you're so accurate. No weapon, no suspect. But is there a profile of the killer by the FBI? Has the FBI conjured up a profile of their perpetrator? Is this a middle-aged man, a man in his 30s, or a man in his 20s? Could it be a teenager? Disgruntled neighbor? I'll bring you that said information. Because what if this is a disgruntled neighbor who has a problem with these kids? Did they ever have a verbal, physical altercation with anyone in that general area? I am curious. I am curious. They said there were neighbor complaints, noise complaints. So once again, did someone have an altercation with these kids? Man arrested recently, not connected so far. Black SUV parked. Where was it parked? In front of the house, side of the house, up on that street where those apartments were. Where was this black SUV parked? And why is it now being introduced? Door open, door closed, 8:30 a.m. Who saw it? No verification. Scream, no scream. Ma'am, did you call the police about the door? And if you didn't, why not? And sir, why are you changing your version about hearing a scream? Very interesting information. Very interesting information. Idaho Statesman is now reporting this new information of everybody wanting to give their version of what they think happened. What happened in that house? Because now we're getting information about a white Elantra. Who gave that tip? Is there anything that the police is sitting on that they have not revealed? You also hear that Mr. Gonzalez has a PI and a lawyer retained. Do you all think it's a good idea to have these two people involved, a lawyer and a PI? Will it be conflicting with the ongoing investigation? And will it work? Will it help them to bring out more information to the family? Mr. Gonzalez, you have a bad reputation with these people so far. I don't see them telling you anything. So I don't even know if getting a lawyer will help. It probably will exacerbate a situation that's already dire. And the one person you don't want to F with, it's the FBI, state police, knowing your child has been murdered. It's not a good look. And I'm wondering why he's the only one causing a ruckus. What about the other family members? How do they feel about him getting a lawyer and a PI? Because don't you find it strange you don't hear anything from these people, these other family members? Stay woke, everybody. More information from News Nation. New public information officer joins the case. This might be the lady that you heard talking here earlier. Let's see what they have to say about this case now. Will the communications be better now with this new officer? I think that's what's been the problem. They didn't have anyone officially speaking on behalf of the police department. That way, there will be no more conflicting information brought out. News Nation, everybody's the source.
Investigators, we don't know if they're local, state, federal, they were inside and we saw a lot of activity inside the home and the home was lit up. So we were able to peek in some of the windows, but we saw those men inside the home in the two particular rooms where the murders took place. We did not see them leaving with any materials. I asked them a couple of times, why are they back? They did not answer me. They pulled away in two vehicles. One had a Washington state plate. The other had an Idaho plate. But that is all we can tell you. But we did see a lot of activity. This house was lit up for nearly an hour. They were inside. We don't know why. Nothing seemed to be removed. But as you know, Ashley, yesterday, a lot of the kids' belongings were removed by Moscow police to be returned to their families.
So I'm just watching these guys as they're walking by you. Were you asking them questions and were they effectively just ignoring you? Did they say hello? Did they say anything at all?
Not a peep. And I asked them specifically, why are you here tonight? Why are you here tonight? They did not acknowledge me. So certainly they were on a mission and they left without saying a word.
So Nancy, I just want to point out the video that we're seeing right now. Let's blow this up full because, and let's replay that if we can too. This is the investigators walking out of the kitchen area into a hallway and then walking towards the living room. So there they are. It looks like they're emerging from the kitchen area, walking towards the front of the house. That grassy sign that's on the wall right there, that's the good vibes sign. Mm-hmm. There's actually two of those signs in the house. It's very confusing. There's a good vibe sign that was lit up in Kaylee Gonzalez's room. And there's also that same grassy good vibe sign right down there that faces the front in the living room. So they're walking out of the kitchen area and walking towards the front of the house in the living room on the second floor there. But that's the first time, Nancy, that we've actually been able to see them at work inside the house.
Right. And looking inside, we did see, so many signs of a typical college life, the items that we saw, red Solo cups, we saw a beer bottle, and there you see the window with the shades drawn, but you see the shadows of them working in that room. But yeah, they were inside. They seemed to be targeted in where they were going and what they were doing, and then they left without a word. even though I
Curious
tried
about
to
the
get some
kitchen.
comments out of them.
Yeah, it's curious about
Yeah.
the kitchen because we're still trying to get confirmation as to whether, the killer entered through that back kitchen sliding door. But, listen, that on a crime scene, they're going to look at every inch of that house. I am interested when you said that there was a Washington plate, because the very first thing I thought of when I saw those guys is they don't look local necessarily. And I don't say that because they don't look like they're from Idaho. It just looks like they're moving in a particularly specific way.
Yeah.
And this late in the game, it just screams FBI to me, and maybe an FBI field office that's partially from Washington, maybe an FBI field office from the Idaho area. But did you ask if they were from FBI or what jurisdiction? And they just said, nothing to see here?
Yeah, they would give me nothing. And I did call Moscow police, no answer, no response. So no explanation for any of this, but they were clearly inside on a mission.
25 days of processing a crime scene, to me, it's something I haven't really seen, unless it's, a massive school shooting. That could take 25 days because there's just so many victims and so much territory and so many markings. This one is a really unusual complexity. I can only think it's because there's just so many samples in that house over the years and over the times that the kids have been there that I'm still shocked they only have 113 pieces of evidence. Nancy, thank you for getting that video and for being the eagle eye and spotting that. Really do appreciate it. Thanks so much.
And we should point out that a lot of the forensic evidence went to the state lab, and that is still being tested. The blood is the blood mixed DNA is the killer's DNA being tested. So there's a lot of information and evidence that's being tested now. And the Moscow Police Department kept stressing that, we're not releasing a lot of information because we're protecting the integrity of the investigation, a term we keep hearing. So a lot of evidence still being processed and tested.
We honestly don't know if that killer cut himself and has mixed DNA in that blood. But you can't do that much activity and not shed a skin cell or hair or a fiber off your sweater or your jacket or your hat. It's next to impossible. It's just how many other people have walked through that house through the ages. Honestly, thank you for watching.
All right, everybody, that's Banfield talking to the reporter there. The reporter there is saying no information pertaining to the men who went on the scene inside of the house, what they're doing in there. Naturally, they're doing their job. That's the job you want. You can't complain and then worry about what they're doing in there. They're doing their job. Washington plates, more agents. They already told you they've got at least 44 people from the FBI field offices around the United States working this case. 2 behavioral analysts building the profile of the perpetrator. What did the killer leave behind? Did he leave behind DNA? Did he cut himself? Shed hair, hair pulled, beard, facial hair, bald, long hair, short hair, medium length hair? Did he touch anything? Did he wear gloves? Bingo card. We don't even know if the perpetrator wore gloves. If he was frantic, angry, possibly a young person, didn't care to wear gloves. But if he was older, 9 times out of 10, he would be meticulous. That's just my assertion. He would wear gloves. Knitted, leather, latex. Change of clothes. I don't know. Light and weight, I don't know. Entry points, I don't know. But let's go with this alleged door opening at 8:30 a.m. Imagine that. The perpetrator walked out the front damn door. The perpetrator walked out the front door. Now imagine had he walked through the front door. That would be even more diabolical. And then there's no way you could say he didn't know about the bottom stairs. I'll wait. Because in the end, you don't know who the killer is. You don't know how he got in the house. Because I think many people will be shocked to find out he didn't go through any glass door. He went through the front door. So imagine had he went through the front door. That means A, he had the passcode. 2, he was let in. Boom. Stay woke. That's why you can't assume anything with this case because the possibilities are endless. Some believe that they knew their killer. The killer knew them, close proximity in their inner circle, or saw them in passing, whichsoever. It would be very, very interesting to know he was let into the house, either by the girls on the bottom level or one of the other kids in the house. Did the kids know their perpetrator? Is he in their inner circle? Somebody they hung out with, partied with. This house was known as a party house, allegedly. It's going to be a lot of DNA in that house anyway. Surfaces touched by people. That's going to even be more crazy. Somebody touched something that never got dusted or cleaned, and now they're being brought in this interrogation. Hello, UK. Thank you for joining me, sweetheart. The possibilities are endless of a suspect because, as I've told you before, pertaining to these kids, not much is coming out about their personalities and who they are and what they were about and who they came in contact with. So you got to count who they were as people, all the people they came into contact with, any dealings of people that were negative or nefarious in nature, illegal in nature, anything, anybody they upset, pissed off, had words with through messaging apps, face-to-face contact, stalkers, so on and so forth. 4 separate people, 4 separate lives, 4 separate entities can attract all types of scenarios. We don't even know if the doors had the keypad locks on the bedroom doors. That has not been revealed because naturally when you shut that door, I would assume it would automatically lock on its own. So as I told you before, I can't see a person shutting that door if they had to go to the restroom. Since their bedrooms didn't have a private restroom, if that door is shut, now you're locked out of your room, but naturally you could always open the code, of course. But you understand what I'm saying? I would leave it open, then go use the restroom. Or is it the type of door that can't be propped open on its own? So 1,000 questions you can ask because when you're dealing with true crime, the questions are also endless. Can the door stand on its own coming from the bedroom? See, nobody's ever asked that. Keypad on it. Automatically lock once closed. Victims. Faces covered or not. Usually when faces are covered, that means the perpetrator knew the victim. Bet you never thought about that. Bodies posed, position. Mementos taken from the rooms, out of the house. Did he leave a calling card that's not obvious to the eye? Stay woke. Many perpetrators will do very sneaky things such as write letters, cryptic notes behind refrigerators, stoves, inside window casings, scribble something on the back of a curtain. See, you have to think like a killer sometimes in order to get the information. But you're never going to know who the killer is until you know who the victims were. You can't have one without the other. Who were the victims? What type of lives did they lead? Who was shy? Who was malmannered? Who was a firecracker? Who had a bad mouth, potty mouth? Who had a smart mouth? Anybody dealing with any type of extra sexual curricular activities? Changing mates often. See, you don't know. And who's going to tell it? And that's we've got these other people who are just gossipers, picking off anything they can to bring it into the story, which is frivolous because that's not going to get to finding out who the killer is. Making up stuff and pointing daggers at anybody that somebody else wants to bring into the story to make a view and a like and a Facebook post. That's dangerous. You'll get somebody killed. Because all it takes is for you to point the finger at the wrong person. They decide to pop off. Then you have some more dead people out there in Moscow, Idaho. But when people are thirsty for views and likes and getting people to come to their Facebook posts and groups, they don't care. But that lets you know they don't care about the kids and they don't care about human life. Because human preservation should be first. Self-preservation should be first. So if you don't care about yourself, you don't care about 4 kids brutally murdered. And this pimping season needs to stop. That's why I have not indulged in any theories pertaining to the Idaho 4. Because I'm not getting off into that. I don't have that kind of time, and I'm not wasting my resources in piggybacking off of other people's videos and gossip. Bring me a receipt, and then I'll run with it. Until then, I don't speak on it. Thank you for joining me. Let's see what else we can get in this diabolical case coming out of Idaho. So much information I've loaded up on my community page. Everything being played is in the YouTube queue and on my community posts. Once again, News Nation, dangerous speculation in true crime community amid ongoing Idaho case. Yes, please, let's speak on that because it's out of control. Know that words do hurt and you could get somebody killed pointing fingers. As I told most of you, if it was you, you would not want to be plastered all over YouTube and Facebook and have people standing outside your house on a witch hunt, and you're innocent. Stay woke.
Turn now to Lauren Mathias. She's the host of the podcast Hidden True Crime, and she's a former broadcast journalist from East Idaho as well. She's been following this case along with us since the beginning. You know, when I spotted those numbers going down and spotted that they were buried in the release, I mean, it was really hard to find that. That news has been public, I guess you could say, since last weekend, although impossible to pick up unless you read every inch of every single press release, even the stuff you'd read before. I wondered if they had let the families know beforehand. Do you have any idea, Lauren, if these families knew that there's already been a drawdown and officers assigned?
I don't know if family has known, but I do know that Kaylee's father has been very public with his, he's not happy that police, with their transparency. And I know that he's talked about hiring or has hired a personal investigator. But I do think also, I want to say that I do think it was intentional to release that on a weekend. But I do think I want to say that I think it's typical. It's when you have a multi-agency investigation, it makes sense to bring everybody in when you don't know so much. And then as information comes, to streamline resources and to and to figure out what you need and where. So I actually find it hopeful, perhaps, that maybe we're going on to the next phase of the investigation.
Maybe, they call it the analytics phase, and there's a lot of analytics that are going to need to be triangulated in this case. What Nancy Liu witnessed today and tonight with those 5 agents going through the house, I say agents, they could have been officers, we don't know who they were. My spidey senses suggest they're FBI, and with a Washington license plate, that would suggest field office. Do you have any sources on that?
I don't know who went in. I did see that. I retweeted Nancy there. I thought that was so interesting. But, I don't know who it is, but I do know, according to that release, you pointed out that we do have fewer Moscow officials on this and more FBI. Typically, I know that usually it's Moscow police gathering the evidence. FBI hopefully is able to help them process the evidence. It is interesting that they seem to still be gathering evidence at the house. That's what it looks like to me there.
And they're good at this, right? You see how their body languages when they walk by Nancy and the bright cameras and the cleave light, yes. They know to shade their faces. Local police don't always do that. But the FBI, they've probably been through this once or twice. And I can only imagine that the additional officers, I think somebody in the control room can help me out with this, but I think there were maybe these either 4 or 6 new FBI officers who were added to this case. And looky, we've got 5 new guys, maybe. It's possible. Oh, it was 5. There you go. We got the number. It was 5 new FBI officers who were added to this case, and we have 5 guys out there tonight going through the house. My thought is that they would need a guide. More than likely, they would need somebody who's been on it to sort of, give them a lay of the land. But that to me is just an intriguing piece of tape right there to see those folks. I got to ask you one other thing, Lauren. When I cover these cases, and there's been a lot of them, there's a bit of a formula. I get it. The police hold things close to their vest. That's standard. They should. But I have never seen state TV like the way Putin releases things. State TV. Here's your clip. I had my guy interview me. You may not ask your own questions. You may not do follow-ups. I will give you the clips that are vetted, and I will send out state television. I have not seen that. And at a time when there's scrutiny, and there should be, it's odd. Am I just not in the right town? Is this the way things work in Idaho? Because I think not.
No, I agree with you. I don't think this is the way it typically works. We haven't had a presser, for almost 2 weeks. I thought there was going to be one tomorrow, and now that looks like it's not true. And to be releasing these videos, reporters can ask questions. It's a very different thing. Yes, do we see them? And the questions are scripted. They're saying what they want to say. It's very, very curious. And I also think it leads to speculation, some dangerous speculation in the true crime community. I'm really hoping that we see a press conference soon where reporters can ask the questions they want to ask.
Right, exactly. Because there's still a ton of questions I have for the folks, who are working this investigation. Stuff they can answer, stuff that they can an answer that won't impede the investigation. Lauren, as always, it's good to have you. Thank you for giving us the perspective, especially from right there. It's important to know, what's going on the ground. So much appreciated. We'll have you back. Thanks again. Thank you for watching.
That's Banfield talking to a podcaster. I don't see the Moscow Police Department giving a Q&A session because naturally they're not giving you updates pertaining to the case as to preserve the information in this investigation. So there will be no Q&A. And I think this lady in Banfield knows better. Why am I going to have a Q&A session when I won't answer anything? I'm not talking to the family. I'm not giving them updates. So why would I give the public updates and not even give the family updates? So there will be no Q&A. I don't see a Q&A until there is a suspect apprehended and arrested for these diabolical crimes. But no Q&A. No Q&A at all. The evidence. What was left behind, as I said, by the perpetrator? Who was the target? Was there a stalker of any of the victims? I was listening to WFLA with JB, and it's a winded commentary, about 40-something minutes long, but the information in it is very concrete. Please go to my community board for that video because you will learn what it takes to do this type of work. And that's why you have to understand this is not a TV show. You're talking about 4 people brutally killed, stabbed multiple times. A few of the victims fought back. So now you're talking about a lot of work. Weeks in, family just now getting items back. Should they have even gotten the items back? Because you need to know what is relevant, what is not. As I said, you don't know how long the killer was there. Stay woke. How long was the killer actually there? What time did he get there? Were the autopsies done proficiently to give a time of death, such as what they ate, food digested, undigested? We know that a nurse allegedly was doing the autopsy, but I think they sent them off to a state police. I pray that the autopsies were conducted with the state police because we need an actual matter of death, contents of stomach, waiting on toxicology reports. Evidence has come back. What evidence has come back? See, there's so much details to the crime scene because you have 4 victims. Now you got to count what's in the house. Blood splatter, as I said. Fecal matter, urine. Did he urinate in there? Did he use the bathroom in there? Did he urinate somewhere in the rooms? Did he pee on any items in the house, such as the sofa, the people? Did he ejaculate on any of the victims? See, you have to ask all that. They say no sexual assault, but who's to say that he didn't do anything diabolical with semen inside of a house? Stay woke. Did they use luminol to try to get other evidence such as semen? Because as I said, just because he didn't rape the victims doesn't mean he could not have ejaculated as a last hurrah, last spite the victims. See, you don't know the perpetrator. You know he's sick. He killed these kids for some reason, but what else did he do in the house? He could have peed everywhere in there. Could have defecated in there. See, you don't know. Could have left little clues and hints, taken things from them. Did he mark any of the victims? Pose any of the victims? Cover any faces of the victims? Were any victims covered up by a pillow on the face or blankets, sheets? Because if he covered them up, 9 times out of 10, he knows them. Stranger has no reason to cover up a face. They don't know me. I don't know them. Police don't know me. I have no ties to the victim or the house. I'll leave them as they lay. Did the perpetrator walk out the front door? Did the perpetrator enter through the front door? Lie in wait? Apartment building faces the house. The back of an apartment building faces that location. Did the perpetrator sit there, watch? Lives on that street, lives in an apartment building adjacent, lives in one of the houses adjacent. One of the houses behind, separated by a fence. Did the perpetrator jump over a fence? Did the perpetrator sit on their own porch and watch and then on this one day decided, I'm going to take them all out? Was somebody mad at all of them because they were friends with each other? Mad at one, but I'm getting them all because I don't like none of them. Had beef with them, bullied by them. Social media posts, nasty posts. See, the possibilities are endless. Thank you for joining me. We'll now resume with more commentary pertaining to this case. This information I just brought you is about dangerous speculation going on in the community and around the United States. As I told you, the throwing of daggers at innocent people can get somebody hurt, get somebody killed, could make somebody lash out, such as this Idaho 4 killer. And will the killer lash out himself? How about that? Did that ever occur to any of you? That he may lash out himself? Will he lash out? I like this guy here that's speaking. I want to play him. This is about the investigators returning to the victim's house. Thank you for joining me. All information is in the YouTube queue and my community page. Thank you for joining me.
And the first thing that anyone would do if they're just arriving is to go out and look at the scene as it sits today.
The one thing I didn't see them doing, I don't know if I missed it, but I don't think I did. They didn't do the requisite booty up. They didn't put the little booties on and, protect the integrity. And to me, that screams they got the evidence they need. They have done the exquisite task of trying not to contaminate the scene in any way. And now it's really the gumshoe work of trying to piece this together, almost like a profiler might, or as an investigator may walk the scene and think of clues that he or she might look for, but it's not about contaminating the scene anymore.
Oh, no, I would agree with you. They have been back to this scene repeatedly. They've gone back and they've seized cars that they've processed. So there's been a lot of, and because the scene is so complicated, and there are so many levels to this investigation, I don't think there was a question of compromising anything by these new players on the scene by going in and examining the scene itself.
Let me ask you something, Phil. If this were your case, and you've done a few, right? What would be the first thing you would want to do? If you were one of those 5 guys tonight, where would you be walking? What would you be looking for?
Well, if I was one of those 5 guys, I'd be doing what it appears they are doing, which is to go to the scene, familiarize themselves with it, and then they can kind of associate some of the evidence that's been collected to the scene that they have now viewed.
Yeah, I'm looking here, Phil. They're not taking notes. Like, I'm looking at it. They've got their jackets on. They've got their gloves on. They've got their hats on. They don't have notes. Nobody's sort of writing anything down as they might be inspired, right? When I look at stuff, I get inspired to ask certain questions. I write them down right away. They're just walking about. Now, I don't know what they're doing behind the pulled blinds, but they're moving pretty quickly about the cabin.
Well, they are. And what that would indicate to me is that they had a specific question about some aspects of that scene, and they went there to verify what they were asking about. And evidently, it was verified, and so they left, and there would really be no need to take notes if they were there for a specific purpose.
And they've got no evidence bags. They're not taking anything out. It's that looks real, that really looks like in the business what we call go see. From what I gathered from Nancy Lou, and I'm going to ask the controller, just to check in with Nancy real quick because I let her go already. I think they were there for about a half hour, but I just want to confirm that they were there for about that amount of time. But does that sound about right? That's the time it would take. Yep, I just got confirmation. It's correct. They were there for about a half hour. Does that sound about right? Just to sort of confirm or check on something. They had a purpose. They knew what they were going to see.
Well, not knowing what they were there specifically to view, I would say that given the time frame that they saw what they wanted to see or what they needed to see, and that was accommodated within that 30 minutes, and they left. So I don't think it's a question of do we spend more time to make it appear that we're doing something. I think they went there, they used their time in an economic way, and saw what they needed to see, and then departed.
Let me ask you something before I let you go. 25% reduction in the number of bodies working this case. I know it happens. It is always, it's a gut punch when it happens, but life goes on, and there's policing in that community that has to happen. They did an almost 100% blanketing of that case with their entire asset force in the Moscow police, but they buried it. They did it real quiet, and they did it at week 3, like literally 3 weeks to the night of the murders. Is this unusual as they go to what they call the analytics phase of the case? Is it early? Is it late? Just give me a feel for when do you start pulling back?
I don't think it's unusual. I mean, at this point in time, they have fielded over, I think the last numbers I saw were over 5,000 clues, tips, either from email or from phone calls or online stuff. And then they've got the evidence, the collection that went on at the beginning of this thing. And they marshaled the forces that they had. I mean, the Moscow Police Department's only got 36 commissioned personnel and support staff. And so as what you just alluded to, they have an entire community that they have to continue to police. And so this utilization of patrol officers at the beginning, they're using them to canvass, they're using them to collect evidence, they're using them to put that evidence in whatever property room they have there for analysis later. They're answering phone calls, they're fielding these tips. There's a lot of things that they're utilizing those locals to do, and that's why, thankfully, at the very beginning of this thing, the state and the FBI stepped in because they've got the resources that the Moscow Police Department just doesn't have.
Thank you for watching. Go to
All right. 2 detectives added on to this case. You hear this ex-official speaking here. He's been speaking on Banfield for a while since this case started. Please go to my community page for the verified information. California Thunder, thank you for joining me. How are you?
Hi.
Speak up, baby, so I can hear you.
Okay. Is that better? I'm not sure. My phone.
Hold on, let me turn my volume up a bit. Go ahead. Let's start from the beginning. We have new information coming out about a white Elantra, 3 arrests of some citations of some kids goofing off. No relations to the case, allegedly, just some underage kids drinking. Then we have allegedly something about a black SUV. I haven't brought any content pertaining to that, but that has been mentioned. Some guy assaulted his wife and child. I do believe they said he's murdered somebody, but also he's been cleared, possibly through CCTV. Maybe he works 3rd shift. I don't know. Let's start with those, and then we'll go into the alleged door open and somebody not hearing a scream, hearing a scream. So let's start with the citations of the kids.
Okay.
It's a lot, so I'm trying to break it all up.
It is. Okay. So I guess I'm a little unsure about with the kids.
Just some underage kids goofing off. I think, they got pulled over, whatever. We're drinking in the field or found in the field, whatever, but not related.
Right. So the footage that we see, the lights, it's like you're on a grass hill looking out and you can see all the different lights.
Mm-hmm.
That was from the cops' body footage, right? Okay. I actually called because what I was going to say is, I don't want to mess up your system here, but I'm just really worried that there's a lot of people that may know that are never going to speak.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing about true crime is that people always hold other people's secrets.
Yeah.
Everybody's done it. Everybody's held a secret pertaining to a diabolical crime, assault, robbery, fraud, murder. It's just a matter of will they decide to tell, okay? Because we've heard this 1,000 times. People had suspicions of somebody being involved in a crime and they never spoke up. So let me ask you, do you believe somebody suspects a person or persons of killing these kids and they have not told?
Absolutely.
Tell me why.
Because social media, because the phones, because people are up on each other's business on college campus. Raising kids myself, I know what kids got away with. And
what are the ages of your children? What are the ages of your children, man?
Well, my son's 31 and my daughter's 28.
Okay, they're grown. Okay.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people don't want their ride messed up.
Yeah.
They're in college, they're going somewhere, they're doing things, and if they get pulled aside and get involved in this, and I think there'd be a lot of pressure from the parents too, not just them. I just, knowing how a lot of people are these days, I feel like.
But don't you find that sad still, because the perpetrator's still loose? So even if you're not saying it because you're scared of the perpetrator, What are your
Right.
reasons? Perpetrator, or you just don't give a damn? Because you do have people who just don't give a damn. It's not
Right.
my problem. It ain't affecting me. Because I
Mhm.
talk to a lot of people, and I talk to men who have that mentality.
Yeah. Well, their priorities are jacked up.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that's just been lurking on the back of my mind,
Okay.
is that I feel like they're people, they're gonna graduate, they've got scholarships, they just
Yeah.
don't want, that's kind of like holding stuff back. That's, man, so much went down that night, between the parties and phone calls and just everything. And there's no way that people don't have more to add.
Yes.
I just don't believe it.
Well, let's talk about the guy who was arrested days ago or had some type of running with police and violent offenses, but cleared.
That Leonard guy, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're not connecting him, huh? It doesn't seem like it. Let's see. Yeah, Bonnie in chat, you're right. They will give damn when it happens again. Yep. I don't know, that whole Leonard thing, like the timing is really off, or not. It's so bizarre. His DNA did not match, is what they're saying. Okay. Wow.
So, have you heard much about his background, this violent offender? Sorry, I had to step away for a minute. You heard about this violent offender? He's been cleared, but as they said, can always go back.
Right.
Speak to a person of interest and or suspicion.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, once they say that they're ruling someone out, they're not stuck with that. They can totally always go back.
Yeah, that's the thing, that's the thing. That's why I don't sit here and dwell on anything as far as who looks suspicious or not. Mm-hmm. I've got enough sense to know that the police should have sense enough to know they can always go back. Nothing is ironclad because I cleared you today that I can't go talk to you tomorrow, 5 days from now.
Right, exactly.
Depending on where the evidence leads.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the tip of the car, this Elantra.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think this tip came about?
I don't know. It's, what do you think?
I have no idea. I don't even know if this is a tip that was around earlier and they just didn't say anything, or this is a new tip that came from this week. I have no idea. I don't know if somebody was sitting in the car, people were in the car, but the thing that Banfield said that I'm glad she said, because it struck me odd, occupants means plural.
Oh, you're right. Oh, actually, no, I just did remember. I believe, maybe chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't the car the one that was seen in the background of the cop's footage when he was talking to those young boys on the hill?
Yeah, I thought I saw a white car in the background too, and I thought, I wonder if this is the car they're talking about. But I had that thought earlier. Yes, I'm very glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
And don't you find it interesting? There were 3 of them. Because you see it on the body cam, them standing there talking to the 3 guys.
I know. I had the same thought.
So that white car may be those 3, but it seems like by now they would clear that white car on up to say, hey, the Elantra belonged to the 3 guys who got the citations for underage drinking. That should have been cleared up immediately.
See, that's one of the things that's bothering me too. Mm-hmm. Like when they are very well aware, that law enforcement, of what's, going wildfire on the streets. Mm-hmm. They should clear things up before people get hurt.
Well, they've got a resource person, I think, now hired on.
Oh, good.
Because I heard a lady talking here to the news. So perhaps this person will be able to clarify everything in a timely fashion, because I did notice the car too. And I said, well, wondering if this is the car belonging to these kids, that should have been cleared up once you cleared the kids. The car situation. So what if indeed this car, it's not the same car, it's another car? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Actually, I think any kind of, situation, any kind of homicide like this that goes public, they should have somebody that's kind of the go-between.
Yes, but see, they were behind because I don't think they've ever had a PR person, due to the fact they haven't had this type of crime in order to need a PR person to navigate the public, day for day for day. And I think that's what's happened in this case.
Good point. Good point. I swear, every time I come on your channel, like, I think I'm the most open-minded person, and then I come here and I get checked. And
what?
I said, every time I come here, I get checked because I think that I'm so open-minded. Then I come here and you make me think of all these other things, so
Well,
that's
but
good.
that's what I want my audience to do. I don't, like I said, we all have difference of opinion, but when people come in with the one track tunnel vision, I'm not jumping on that.
Right.
Because these are 4 different people. We're not talking about one dead person. You're talking about 4 people, 4 different lives, 4 different attitudes. So the possibilities are endless.
They are. And the thing is too, so I think it's really hard when people were, passed away, their age, and then the way being victims, people don't want to acknowledge the fact that there could be some shady stuff in their past. And it's hard for people.
Let me address somebody in the chat, because I know people do not like to pay attention to the information. If you're speaking of the 3 people that got citations, that is for underage drinking. So has it been clarified that they are fraternity members? Because I had not heard if they were fraternity members or not.
Right. Yeah, they could have just lived in the.
Because when they said underage, it didn't specify 20, 18, 16. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
I need clarification. Yeah. Go ahead, finish, sweetheart.
No, I was just saying that, it's really hard for people to be open-minded about the fact that they could have it doesn't make you a bad person. They were young, if they do have some shady things going on. I mean,
well, like they said, as far as the frat house situation, everybody knows what goes on in frat houses: hazing, drinking, doing things you don't have any business, things that's in violation of the fraternal and sorority code and the school guidelines as to stay, what I'm trying to say, accredited as a sorority. So if they start talking, doing things, they're probably worried the wrong thing is going to come out.
Yeah.
Not taking up for them, but just saying.
Right.
People start talking, doing things, start showing things. Next thing you know, you're being stripped.
That's exactly right. And
they already have some citations against them that I brought the other day. Some prohibition situations going on.
So I'm also concerned about, that's probably why they don't have a lot of cameras. If you think about it,
yeah, I heard that they do not have cameras at the frat house. Let me make that clear too.
Yeah, I think there was an interview with one of them telling, I think it was Brian Inton.
One of the young boys he talked to briefly.
Yeah,
had to go to class.
The president of that fraternity or something.
Okay.
But yeah, they simply don't. And
I wonder why you would not have cameras. See, this is what I don't understand. Whether you live in an apartment or not, it is best to get cameras put in your home just for security reasons, because so long as you're renting from somebody will have access to your house, such as maintenance workers, plumbers, whomever. And you need to have them for your rooms, because people do steal. Just because we're in a frat house doesn't mean we don't have a dirty frat boy or a dirty sorority sister or somebody that will steal from you. You need to have cameras in your room.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
If you're renting an apartment or frat house sorority, if you're a single person living, you still have somebody over your house that has access to your home. So anybody could come in and check something, inspect something, and then next thing you know, pick up a cell phone, iPad, valuables, beer, liquor, whatever you got that they want to steal.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot to protect, because those rooms were basically like little itty bitty apartments in that house.
Yeah. I would have never done that because, like I said, everybody lives differently. I would have never lived in a house with that many people for the very reason of something jumping off. Not to say murder, but just an altercation. Something gets stolen. Somebody's company gets rowdy, and then they want to fight somebody or pull a gun out or pull a knife out, because things happen all the time. If you watch the news, you're always hearing about somebody getting mad. Somebody came over. It was a great night until it took one person to get jiggy. He or she gets to arguing, fussing. Now everybody's fighting, tag teaming. Now somebody's dead because you got too many different attitudes in one room. Now, 5, 6 people living together. That's 5, 6 different attitudes, 5, 6 different ways of thinking, 5, 6 people that can get offended easily. See, you have to pay attention to the details. 5 or 6 people getting offended easily. 5 or 6 friends that come over that one of the roommates don't want in the house. I told you I don't want them here. Why you got them here? You know what they did the last time they were here. See, you don't even know.
Yep. That's true. And here's another little angle. Having raised a daughter, is that, you know, you got your boyfriend coming over and then you got all these girls roaming around.
Walking
getting
around,
dressed.
yes, panties, short things,
Yeah.
stones. Why should I have to put clothes on? Well, there's a guy in the house out of respect. But
Right.
that's my point. Do you know your roommates? Do they have the mentality to adhere to girl code, girl rules?
Yep.
Respect.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I said, who's the firecracker? Who's the mild-mannered? Who's the shy one? Who's the one that would tell on others? Who's the one that would implicate them and stab them in the back? See, you have to pay attention to all of that.
Well, and I know that they were very close and stuff like that, but that can change. That can change.
Well, I think the girls on the bottom, their statement to the pastor for the memorial was very official. It didn't seem warm-hearted to me.
I agree.
I'm not saying they hated the girls, disliked them. All I'm saying, it wasn't warm and deep.
Right. It was
official.
Yeah, it was a statement.
That's a statement. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a statement.
Yeah. Yep. Totally agree. So there's a lot going on here. There is so much. And with every topic underneath it, there's so much more. And, you know, I think people, you know, you see the sad videos of them and their past and their child.
Oh yeah, the one with Kaylee where she's got the dog walking in front of the glass door.
Yeah.
That one was sad. Yeah, it's very sad because there you're looking at this very beautiful girl playing with her dog, filming herself. Right. Little did she know her days were numbered. And that's something I think some of us do think about is every day we get up and walk around, do things. When is the day that we're going to take our last breath? Are we going to suffer and get hit by a car?
I know.
I think about it all the time because I'm a single person and you know, I don't have a lot of traffic in my home. So I have to always be mindful that if something happens to me, I will 9 times out of 10 be here by myself.
Right. Well, I mean, somebody said something to me one time and it kind of freaked me out. And but they said, every day when you get dressed, is that your death outfit? And I thought, oh.
Right. Because you don't know.
You don't.
And let me tell you something that's interesting to me. There are people right now walking around thinking this could never happen to them.
Most people. I really think most people don't.
I don't get like that. I don't hang with dope dealers. I don't hang with murderers. I don't hang with child molesters. I don't hang with rapists. You don't know who you're hanging with. And it's not a matter of also just who you hang with. It's the environment that you live around. You don't know the guy downstairs in the lower apartment, the apartment on top. If you're in the middle, you don't know the guy next door, the girl next door. You don't know who the roommates are hanging with. You don't know who the people across the street are hanging with. They could have a friend come in from New Jersey and he's a peeping Tom and likes looking out the damn window. See, you don't know.
That's where the victimology comes in.
Yes.
You know, and you don't realize that you are putting yourself more at risk, not carelessly, but that's just, it is what it is. And you don't know, like, not everyone who's a creeper has a past. Or
they haven't been caught yet. They haven't.
Exactly.
Let me tell you something about a sadist. He or she has to have a start. So most of the start comes from childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Being around violence, hearing violence, being accosted, sexually assaulted. Then they may end up becoming the assaulter as a child. They end up assaulting other children or possibly an adult. Then there's animal abuse, fire starters, getting into trouble, getting in trouble in school, petty thievery, big thievery, peeping Tom, sexual advances, continued sexual advances, following women around, sex, porn, sites, peeping Tom. I'm advancing now.
Right.
Like when you go to the store and you look in the window at the pretty dress on the mannequin, how many times are you going to keep standing there looking at the dress? Aren't you going to want to go in?
Right.
That's a peeping Tom. At some point, he's going to get tired of peeping.
Yeah.
He's going to want to touch the flesh. He's going to want to play funny games with the flesh. And God forbid he decides to play funny games, assault the victim. He may also take their life. Stage 2, he plays funny games, breaks in, doesn't kill or torture the victim, but maybe he's questioned one day about being in the area, blah, blah, blah. And now he knows I've got this insatiable appetite to go in women's homes and sexually assault them, do whatever, but I don't want to get caught the next time.
Right.
Okay.
That was an excellent analogy, though, about the mannequin, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, I'm very analytical. But when I was a little girl, listen, when I was a little girl growing up in Chicago, at Christmas time, they would have these like little porcelain mannequins moving in the window with the fake snow, the sled,
Oh, yeah.
blah, blah, blah. Okay. That was a staple growing up in Chicago, Christmas time. All the major stores, Carson Pirie Scott, Marshall Fields, would have these mannequins in the window moving about. At some point, you become mesmerized looking through the glass.
Yeah.
Because you like looking, you're a child. It's Christmas time. You're looking at the kids playing in the snow, however they got the stage decorated. At some point, how long are you going to keep standing there looking at that display?
Yeah.
You're going to want to maybe go in the store, see what else is in the store. That's what a sadist does.
Yeah. Yeah.
He can only look so long at you coming to the gym, coming to the bar, coming to the restaurant.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Seeing you go in and out of your house, your apartment. I got to see what's going on behind the door.
Right. It's so true when you break it down like that, and there's always going to be that first time,
Okay. Let's talk about the Idaho statements. Got interviews with these people or the Daily Mail, whichever. Let's start with the female that said she saw the door open at 8:30 a.m.
Okay, that part I'm not so well versed in.
Okay, well, I brought you commentary. It's the latest gossip.
Okay.
The thing that's strange to me is, did the police hold on to this information?
Oh.
It can't be, because now the chief is saying he has never heard anything about it. So why didn't she call the police then?
Right.
So is this just another internet junkie wanting to get 5 minutes of fame off of 4 dead kids?
Right. You're not, okay, forgive me. You're not referring to the scream, are you?
I'm going, that and the scream. It's 2 separate incidents. 2 separate people are now coming forward. Yes.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
The scream is from a guy. The door open is from a female.
Oh, okay. Wow. Ooh. And so are they saying that the chief's saying that he's not familiar with either one?
Listen, the female is saying she saw the door open. Now there's a guy who posted to social media that there were no suspects, no screams, no nothing. But now he's coming forward giving information that he heard a scream but didn't know if it was affiliated to somebody partying, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And then we have the female who said that it was quiet. She usually wears headphones because they party all the time. But on this night, it was quiet. That's why I titled the video, "The Night the Party Stopped."
Okay, yeah, I do remember. I think that's about when I came in too, when you were talking about how
Now I'm wondering
she's a gamer.
3 separate people, because is the female who saw the door open also the same one that said she finally got peace and quiet and there was no noise? But yet the police doesn't know anything about the door open. And then the guy talking about the scream, he's contradicted himself from what he initially posted 12 hours after the crime.
Right. This is a lot. I mean, these are kind of big things, these are potential, ear and eye witnesses. And oh my gosh, what do you make of it?
Nothing.
Yeah.
When people start coming out with conflicting information, as the chief saying he didn't know anything, because I know what I heard.
Yeah.
I just played the commentary.
Yeah.
The chief said he's never heard anything about a door being open. And the guy changing his commentary about the scream versus his social media posts that he didn't hear a scream or any noise. Why are you now saying you heard something?
Right. I mean, you can't, no. No, especially not that long after. Come on. What's that? And to be honest, I did run the background of the man who's affiliated with this scream. It's a bad one. So,
well, what did you hear?
Well, what I saw is, and I'm talking about the guy with the name Harsh.
His name Ian or something?
Enon.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a really bad background. And it's not what I heard, it's what I literally pulled up and saw. And it would not be someone that, like, it would not be a
Just tell me,
witness.
what has he done, honey? Just tell us what he's done. What has he been accused of? What has he been charged with?
There was 5 pages of everything from obstructing an officer to find it. Nothing good, that's for sure. Let's see. I was on my friend's panel last night discussing this. That's why I've already forgotten all the charges, but they were, I think this was, oh, here it is. Okay. Trespassing, criminal trespassing.
How old are these offenses?
So 2013, 2014.
Kind of old.
Yeah. Shows a little bit of a reckless lifestyle, but yeah, they are for the most part pretty old.
Reckless. But how old is this perpetrator?
30.
Oh, he's older, a little older.
Yeah. Yeah. There was nothing beyond 2018.
But no violent offenses.
Nothing other than the obstructing an officer, which I don't even know.
So obstruction means what? Leaving the scene or something, or running?
Yeah. It could have been all kinds of things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I have a problem with anybody saying one thing in the beginning and then now going to a news source to say, I did hear a scream, but it may be somebody partying, blah, blah, blah. You either heard a scream or you didn't. So I don't know if he was half dreaming and dozing off. He said he was dozing off when he heard the alleged scream. My thing is, I don't have any way to verify what he heard or didn't hear because, like I said, I don't live there. I don't know him. I don't know these kids. I don't know anything. As far as the door being open, as someone is saying in the chat about the girls seeing the door open, seemed like to me that would have been something suspicious too. Wouldn't they have said that? Oh, when we got up to run out after finding Ethan, the door was already open.
Yeah, I mean, report right away.
And wouldn't you have felt a draft in the house if the door was open?
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Are you kidding me? What was it, like 20? I can't remember how cold it was, but I thought it was in 20s, 30s. Cold. Very, very cold.
Yeah, Idaho's cold. So you would have had a draft if you got up. That would have been the first thing you would have done was went to see where the draft was coming from.
Yeah. And even if the dog's not a barker, like you're still going to, they still
you
bark.
can't, I don't know why people are dwelling on the dog barking. It's a dog.
Right.
The dog can't talk. Everybody's acting like this is a talking dog. That's the part I don't get. The dog can't tell you anything. So why are you talking about if he barked or not? It makes no sense.
Right.
Because what are you trying to lead it to? That somebody would wake up because a dog was barking?
Right. Yeah.
If I live all the way on the bottom and I said I can't hear anything on the 3rd floor, it wouldn't matter if the dog barked or not.
Right.
It wouldn't matter if somebody fell down the stairs, was getting beat up. If I say I can't hear anything, then who's going to make me hear something?
Right. It's true.
So now you got to ask yourself, what can they hear from the 2nd floor? That's what you should be asking is, can you hear something from the 2nd if you can't hear anything from the 3rd? And if you sleep, it won't matter if it's 2nd or 3rd. If you sleep deep, it still won't matter.
And I can vouch for that because I am the deepest sleeper. I sleep through 11 alarms. No lie. It's ridiculous. I've been that way my whole life. And so I do feel kind of defensive towards the downstairs roommates only because I've slept through earthquakes. It's ridiculous, but it happens.
Yeah, it does happen. Well, I know it happens because there's times when I've talked to people who've asked about miniature earthquakes that we've had here. Did you feel anything rumbling, moving? No, I didn't. When there was a storm, maybe I fell asleep after the storm came. I didn't hear anything. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Somebody coming and going, maybe somebody honked the horn, maybe whatever it could be. Usually I will wake up if somebody knocks at the door. That is something that my body just seems to normally just respond to. Yeah. But if the UPS guy only knocked once and I was in deep sleep, then I wouldn't hear it.
Yeah.
Maybe continuous knocking, but one knock, 9 times out of 10, I wouldn't.
Yeah. and everyone's different. Like everybody is so different. And they need to remember that when you're, there's things I have a hard time believing about the noise and stuff myself. That's why I was hoping. I remember they did a big thing on John Bonet's case,
Mhm.
and they did a whole sound test. And I was
Well,
hoping,
everybody's perceiving of information via the ear is different. Just like
That's
what you
true.
see, I don't see what a person actually hears is different than what somebody else hears. Just like there's times when I listen to things via the phone, I can't comprehend it well. But somebody sitting next to me will say, "Well, how did you miss that? How could you not hear that well?"
yes,
It seems like sometimes listening to things through the phone, I don't hear it well. But maybe if I'm a few feet away, like I put things on the Bluetooth speaker, I can hear it better. I don't know. It's just a strange thing. But lately, I'm not deciphering well sometimes the information coming through the cell phone versus if I'm hearing it on a speaker.
right.
And then two, sometimes I'm distracted when I'm trying to listen to something on the phone. So my mind is in like 1,000 different places
Yeah,
in trying to decipher, the information. But that's just a known thing that when you spin a story, it will not be repeated the way it was first repeated.
yeah. The operation.
Information. It's just like that game you play. Repeat what
Yeah.
the person just said.
Yep.
When you go around in a circle, let everybody pass it around. Somebody's going to add something, take something away.
Yeah. And maybe it's not even intentional either.
Right, exactly. So let's talk about the girls. How do you think they feel right now knowing that they were in the house when a quadruple murder took place, people that they shared their lives with, and they are the survivors? Do they think they know the killer? Do you think perhaps that's why they have not spoke visually as because there is a killer loose and that they could also be targets?
Absolutely horrified. I mean, it's such a violation. To think that you know what I mean? Like how vulnerable and violent. Like I would need some serious therapy. I mean, I don't. I mean, and then if you actually are fond of them, on top of it all,
Mhm.
you know,
Do you think they know the killer?
I'm torn.
Okay.
To be honest, I am torn on that. I've gone back and forth. I mean, horribly back and forth, and
I'd like
I
to know
just
the relationships. I'd like to know the actual relationships between all of the girls, all 5.
yeah, because they were all in different sororities.
Mm.
Like Kaylee, like the best friends, Kaylee and Maddie, they were not in the same sorority.
Okay.
So but I think Xana and Maddie were. So you have all these crisscrossing lines, and girls are mean. Let's just say it because they are. And there's no way to have a house full of that many girls and not be some catty.
No type of problem, and that's why I'm saying, what type of interaction was it? Okay, we could take pictures with people because I've taken pictures with people. I've posted it to social media, but somewhere down the line, 6 weeks later, I'm not really caring for the people that I've posted pictures with.
Yep.
You understand what I'm saying? Because maybe down the road, I started to learn things about them that I did not care for.
Right. It's true. And I get the feeling that there was a division.
Okay, tell me why.
It just seems like the downstairs roommates were not as into the little group. There's not as many photos.
Okay.
There's not as many, the statement that was read out that we had talked about earlier.
Yeah, through the pastor.
Yeah, there was something lacking in it.
Okay.
And I just get that feeling that there was a division there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what could that division be? Could have been, rather.
Snarkiness, just acceptance.
Yes, of course.
And
yes, especially if these girls were popular amongst their peers or on campus, because we don't know what other organizations the girls and the kids could have been a part of. Maybe these girls got a lot of attention because the 2 blondes were very attractive looking, could pass for sisters. And, depending on if you know them well enough, to me, just looking back, they could have been sisters. But anyway, attractive looking girls, maybe they were as I call, the belle of the ball, 2 belles of the ball, well known by students, faculty, staff, blah, blah, blah. Maybe the girls could have been jealous. And I don't like to use looks as a reason for anybody to be jealous, because people can be jealous of you for all types of reasons. But looks is usually the start of jealousy. Pretty hair, long hair, nice figure, pretty skin. well known. A lot of people navigate towards the person. Why aren't they navigating towards me? Why don't people look at me the way they look at her? Why are people always doting on her, him? Who's to say? And one person that people don't want to ever really talk about, could it be somebody was vengeful against Ethan? I mean, all possibilities are there.
Yep. I mean, that's just the reality of it. You know, you have to go there because that's just the way it is, you know?
How do you know that Dylan's boyfriend was sleeping? Bring me a receipt.
Right?
Nobody has spoken. Those girls haven't talked publicly, to my knowledge, about who was there in the house. So please bring me a receipt that Dylan's boyfriend was there sleeping over.
All I've seen is he did a post and it didn't make any sense. Did you see his post?
I don't do Facebook. I don't go on people's Facebook pages.
No, it wasn't. I saw it somewhere floating around YouTube, but he did. It was a screenshot of a post that he made, and he addressed being accused, but he didn't claim innocence. I don't know if someone in the chat maybe had seen something like that.
Don't you see what's going on here? It's just a witch hunt.
Yeah.
You're just picking up anybody affiliated with the people in the house, which, like we said, is possibly somebody that is affiliated with these kids, but you have to have a receipt.
Yeah.
Because you can be pointing fingers till you're blue in the face.
Yeah.
Well, what did he say?
Somebody
in the chat is saying he spoke. He said what?
Well, it was odd. That's why it's hard to remember, because it was just worded oddly. He's like, I am a high school and college graduate. Does anyone okay, Bonnie saw it. She in the chat. Can you remember what he said? It was just odd. It was very short.
Yeah, let me clear something up with Shani in the chat. Allegedly, the information didn't get reported accurately about the 911 call. Allegedly, the kids saw the boy dead, ran out of the house. One passed out. One was frantic. Somebody was walking by, took the phone, called 911. But originally, that information was not reported accurately. That is why we were judging why they didn't call the police first. Allegedly, the police was called. And then they ran out of the house or called when they got out of the house, whichsoever. The point is, it wasn't reported accurately to the news agency, which I don't understand why not. Because how can you not say, hey, the girls found the boy dead. They ran out. One passed out. One couldn't talk. We were walking by, took the phone, called 911 to tell them that this girl was passed out. And then the police came to later find the dead people in the house. That's all. How hard was that? It's under 2 minutes.
Right.
This is under 2 minutes.
Right. I mean, my gosh. That's
why this case is a mess, because you couldn't even get the right story out about the 911 call. That should have been told the way it happened.
Well, and the news
is trying to make it. See, they made it more than what it was, and that made us suspicious of the two roommates that they didn't, call the police, but they never explained that one was already on the ground and one couldn't talk because she was hysterical.
Right.
So see, it was a problem day one.
Yeah, you're right, because that there was for weeks, I think people thought that there was someone passed out. One of the victims was passed out, and it became such a mess when it's not reported correctly the first time. It just gets lost. But let's see what people are saying.
Well, the media repeated what the police told them. This is why I keep trying to tell you all, please don't argue with me on my chat, okay? I'm being very civilized during this live stream. The point is, the media don't know any more than what they're told.
Yeah.
So if you tell me this version, then that's how I'm going to repeat it to the public.
Yeah. And you can see how much they're not vetting their information when you see like big channels misspelling names.
I never blamed the media. I said that's the version the media got.
Right. Right. But from who? Like, there's just so many people desperate to put out content, whether it's the news or YouTubers. But, and maybe there's certain police officers passing it along without making sure it's clear. I don't know. It could be so many things. Let's see. Corruption.
Do you think they will find the killer?
I totally do. Yeah.
Do you believe there's more than one killer?
I think there's one actual killer, but more involved.
What do you mean by that? Because that sounds really crazy.
I know. As far as, I mean, knowledge of.
Oh, so I killed these people, then I went and told some people?
I think no. I think there's one killer, but I think that there's people who definitely have knowledge.
But I'm saying, but how would I have knowledge unless somebody told them?
Yeah. You cornered me.
No, I want you to say what you mean.
Yeah. I guess because I'm undecided, so it comes out really messy. I'm just so undecided.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think a person would kill 4 people and tell somebody?
Probably not. I mean, I don't know, because they say that they always loose lips, but that's 4 people. That's so gnarly.
Let me address somebody in the chat. Allegedly, the dog was in another room, per the news. No allegations that the dog was stolen by any other person. Allegedly, the dog was in another room, so I'm going to address that. Why would the dog be in another room than its owner? Was it locked in a room or was just in another room, like living room, den, something like that?
Yeah, because he was put in another room doesn't, by them, the people that live there, is different than him being locked in a room to keep him.
So that's why I said you have to be specific in your information.
Right.
When you say the dog was in another room, does that mean the dog was locked in another room or the dog was just in another room at the time of the attacks? But that's what I've got via a news source, is that the dog was in another room. And I don't dwell on the dog because it's a dog. It can't talk. So to me, there's nothing anywhere you can take it. Obviously, they also reported no trace evidence, nothing that the dog intervened into as far as, I guess, blood splatter, blood. So it is what it is.
Yeah, he's never going to talk. So it's not that's never going to go anywhere. That's very true. You know, I think people bring up the dog because they love dogs.
And yeah, but a dog can't talk. So to keep going, I'm a realist. I don't deal with all that extra stuff. I can't dwell on a dog when I know a dog can't talk. So to keep going on and on about a dog barking, it makes no sense, because you've got to prove that somebody heard the dog barking and then ignored it.
Yeah.
So if that's what you're trying to say, then just say that.
Yeah.
I think somebody heard the dog barking and ignored the dog.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. It's just, I don't know. When you bring in an animal, I think everyone gets in their feels about animals, and but you're right. Like, just stop it with the animal, because it
because there's no way you can take it with the dog.
Yes,
it's just no way you can take it.
Yeah, that information is never going to help solve anything.
Let's talk about the 911 call. Allegedly, the father said that they checked her phone records. She did call, but nothing came of it. Nothing he saw suspicious in her text. So why would she be calling 911? And you can't say she misdialed, because that's just a number you rarely misdial. So let's go there.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You don't misdial that. Mm-mm. No, you don't.
So why do you think she called 911?
You're talking about the roommate, correct?
I'm talking about Kaylee, sweetheart. Her father said they checked her phone records. She dialed 911.
Oh, so I had not heard that before.
Okay, so you don't know about it. Okay.
No, that's whoa. I did not know that. Is that new, or am I just?
That's been a week ago.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I don't know how I missed that. Wow, that caught me off guard. And that was obviously, oh my gosh. Do we know what time that call was at?
I can't remember.
Okay.
I just know they got a hold of her phone records. So.
Wow. Okay. But only her phone, huh?
Yeah. Let's try this information here, uploaded 18 hours ago. Let's listen into this. Lauren Matthews. I don't think Idaho police know how to handle this investigation. Let me turn my speaker on so we can get a good listen to this. Hold on a minute, sweetie.
Bluetooth connected.
1 second. Let's hit this. Let's hear what these people are talking about. Let me ask you this before I play the content. Do you think the police knows what they're doing? Moscow police.
With the assistance of the FBI, but not alone.
Okay, that's fine. Let's hear what they have to say here. Wait a minute.
Timeline very early on for Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle, and it showed them at a frat party from 8 to 9 p.m. But then nothing until 1:45 a.m. when they returned home. So if you do the math, that is a gaping 4-hour and 45-minute hole in the timeline for where these two were. Last week we pointed that out on this show, and then this week, more than 3 weeks after the murders, the police began asking the public for information about that gap in the timeline, saying, help us determine where this couple was in that 4 hours, 45 minutes. Do you have video? Did you see them? Do you have audio? Can you help us place this timeline? And then curiously, this happened today. The Idaho Statesman newspaper, again, they reported the following. Kernodle and Chapin were at a party at the Sigma Chi house for the full duration. From about 9 p.m. to 1:45 a.m., police have established. Police have established? No, they haven't. At least they sure aren't telling us what they might be telling the Idaho Statesman. They just asked us for help figuring out where they were for that 4 hours and 45 minutes. This just seems totally bizarre to us. Given that they haven't released anything official regarding this timeline, right? So what did we do? Of course, we went back to the police. And we asked the police if something had changed. Were they no longer in need of our assistance in helping to determine where Ethan and Xana were? Did the Statesman get something important that the rest of the media wasn't told? So now there's 2 messages out there? Okay, so here's what we got. We got an email, and we got it late today from what's being called the Moscow communications team. I hadn't heard that before, but that's new. And this is the quote that they gave us. Moving forward, we will not be doing reviews of the case process or answering any questions about previously released information. That's not helpful. And then in their latest public recap that was issued today, something different. Police said the couple was, quote, believed to be at the frat party all night, but still wanted more information about, quote, interactions and contacts and direction and method of travel.
Lord of mercy.
Are you confused?
Ooh,
because
mercy.
I am. Joining me now is Lauren Mathias, host of the podcast called Hidden True Crime. She's also a former broadcast journalist from East Idaho, and she's been following this case since the beginning with us. Lauren, get me off the ledge. What part of this do you know? Because I don't think it's appropriate to ask the public for help about something really important and then not clear it up when there's a very large newspaper reporting that it's all good now. Nothing to see here. Police have established they think they were at the party all night, so let's not worry about it. No, there was a public appeal just a couple of days ago. Help us. There's a big, important timeline we need to figure out. What are you hearing in Idaho?
Yeah, I want to say not just something really important 4 weeks into the investigation, right? I've talked to a mother, I've communicated with a mother whose son is friends with Ethan. Her son went to the funeral. Her son, she says, also received a text from Ethan around 2, and he felt he was at the Sigma Chi house. Well, that woman called the police and gave him this tip. This was over a week ago, so this could have changed, but then when we spoke, she had not heard from police. And she thought it too, he was at the Sigma Chi house.
Let me go back to that again. That's crazy.
Son, she says, also received a text from Ethan. Her son went to the funeral. Her son, whose son is friends with Ethan. Her son went to the funeral. Her son, she says, also received a text from Ethan around 2, and he felt he was at the Sigma Chi house. Well, that woman called the police and gave him this tip. This was over a week ago, so this could have changed, but then when we spoke, she had not heard from police. And she thought it too, he was at the Sigma Chi house.
Here's my question. People want to be confident, right? Parents are desperate for confidence in this investigation. I think the people of Moscow who are afraid of a maniacal killer who's out there, they want to be confident that the police aren't keystone.
Are you understanding what she just said?
They want to be confident that.
Are you understanding what this woman is saying? This is crazy to me.
It's a lot, but
I need to replay it again because that's like I said. A lot of times I
get
get difficult in hearing what they're saying. I don't know if she's saying her son was at the party or she said she got a call from Ethan. Which is it?
No, her son. She talked to her son. Her son had gotten a call from Ethan, and her son believed that.
Hold on, let me go way back. Let's go back.
In their latest public recap that was issued
this
today,
is-
something different.
It's always something.
Police said the couple was, quote, believed to be at the frat party all night,
Okay.
but still wanted more information about, quote, interactions and contacts and direction and method of travel.
Let's see that method of travel.
Are you confused? Because I am. Joining me now is Lauren Mathias, host of the podcast called Hidden True Crime. She's also a former broadcast journalist from East Idaho, and she's been following this case since the beginning with us. Lauren, get me off the ledge. What part of this do you know? Because I don't think it's appropriate to ask the public for help about something really important and then not clear it up when there's a very large newspaper reporting that it's all good now. Nothing to see here. Police have established they think they were at the party all night, so let's not worry about it. No, there was a public appeal just a couple of days ago. Help us. There's a big important timeline we need to figure out. What are you hearing in Idaho?
Yeah, I want to say not just something really important, something really important 4 weeks into the investigation, right? I've talked to a mother, I've communicated with a mother whose son is friends with Ethan. Her son went to the funeral. Her son, she says, also received a text from Ethan around 2, and he felt he was at the Sigma Chi house. Well, that woman called the police and gave him this tip. This was over a week ago, so this could have changed, but then when we spoke, she had not heard from police. And she thought too he was at the Sigma Chi house.
Let me break up right there. So one of Ethan's friends says he got a text from him. Did this friend go to the police when he found out his friend was murdered? That's what I'd like to know.
I thought it's hard to hear all that, but I believe they said that somewhere in there. I don't know if it's ADD or what, but I'm just, I'm trying to catch all the
I get distracted trying to pay because I'm trying to watch the chat and listen at this and decipher it as I go. It's easy if I listen to the video by itself and then take my notes and then double back. But I'm having to watch the chat and plus try to listen to what you're saying. So here we have the friend got a text from Ethan at 2 a.m. allegedly. Did he tell the police day one? That's what I'd like to know. Did he tell? Kind of like the people that's calling about the door open. Well, did you tell the police when you first saw the damn door open? You heard a scream, you didn't hear a scream. Did you tell the police when you first allegedly heard a scream? But yet your Facebook post says you didn't hear a scream. So you see what I'm saying? You don't know these people that want to immerse themselves in the case. See, all this reminds me of the shit that goes on up here at YouTube. Just make up stuff for attention, making up fake audios and all this whole type of crazy nonsense. Just desperate people wanting views so desperately. So to me, this is what I always tell people. The YouTuber was once in the chat. The YouTuber is the same crooked ass, meddling ass, nosy busybody that's on social media, meddling and making up stuff. That's all you're getting right now is he said, she said. That's why I keep telling people, everything you hear is a version. What a person tells the police is a version. What the police tells the DA, the media, that's a version. What you go tell the media is a version until it can be corroborated. So
but you know what?
You're hearing right now is a version.
I think, though, I honestly think that this is what I've seen in real life. And I think this might be what's going on is you got people, everybody who had anything to do with those victims anywhere near the time that they were murdered. They want to share that. And they don't understand how that can affect.
But that's why they keep telling everybody about the speculation. You can speculate all you want, but you don't have the right to be passing that shit as the truth.
Exactly.
So when you start saying, I heard a scream, I saw the door open, somebody was sitting in the car, that doesn't have any relevancy to the case. That's up to the detective to decide if it does or does not. Right. But to pass false information is wrong when you're trying to solve the crime of 4 dead people. This ain't what you want. It's this he said, she said, clout chasing BS.
It is.
Because you're going to get somebody hurt by people jumping on what you're saying. Oh, Peter told me this and he was acting funny. Then you go to social media and you post it. Then somebody goes and runs and finds the post. Then they make a video about it. And the next thing you know, everybody's saying, oh, it must be true because Pookie said it. Bubba said he was acting funny. And oh, the car sat there for 20 minutes and the engine was idling. You see where I'm going?
That is exactly why I am so stoked that they're going to have, I forgot what the term was, the person, the speaker, what did you call it? What was the name of them? Their title, the person that's going to
PR, communication PR.
I'm so glad because, and also some people will look at somebody as reputable and spread it because they think that person's reputable. It doesn't mean they are.
Yeah, but it's just a messenger. A person on social media is not reputable to me, and a person on YouTube is not reputable to me. I'm only going to listen to what the police has to say. And thus far, they're not getting it right as far as how to explain the information to the public and the news. So we're in a jacked up situation.
Big time.
We're in a jacked up situation.
Yeah. And all this is just extending the time that we're going to wait.
Exactly. So now you can see why the police would not want to talk to the family or anybody in the media.
Yeah, totally.
Why would they? When they've already goofed up themselves with their information to the district attorney and telling the district attorney, well, you said this, you weren't supposed to say this, and blah, blah, blah. Well, my thing is, why would the district attorney make up something? Wouldn't he have gotten it from you, the police?
Right.
Why are you all passing the buck like this? See, that's bad. That's a very bad look.
That's why I like things being very by the book and very
well, you have to be transparent because you do not want to be accused of lying and contradicting yourself. And as I said, you're talking about 4 dead people. So we don't have this kind of time. The family, they want answers. The community needs answers. So we don't have time for this Hollywood shuffle of who said what, who's on first. No, you weren't supposed to say that. No, take it back. Then go back and say, yeah, they are a target. No, they ain't a target. Then just don't say anything.
Right.
Let the people be mad, but don't put out false information or speculative information because you're telling us don't speculate, but right now you're looking like you're speculating.
Well, just turn it in. If you think you know something, turn it in. Let them decide. But people keep it in the air. They keep it going, and I'm guilty, I'm sure, as well at times. Because I think somebody's reputable. You know what I mean? I'm guilty of that too, and I need to be more aware, so I don't become part of the circus.
Okay, let me finish this video right quick.
Okay.
All right. Let's see.
Here's my question. People want to be confident, right? Parents are desperate for confidence in this investigation. I think the people of Moscow who are afraid of a maniacal killer who's out there, they want to be confident that the police aren't keystone cops in all of this. They want to be confident that maybe it's just a messaging problem, but I don't work there and I don't live there. And I know that you do. Have you had issues with messaging and policing there before? Is this something people shouldn't worry about? Even though I think in a situation this serious, this stuff is important.
Here's where I think messaging is an issue when it comes to Idaho. Idaho is quite rural. Boise is the largest population. But when everything's typical, I think that they embrace the news. When all of a sudden you have a case that's worldwide and you're not arrested, you haven't made an arrest, and it's going to affect the school and admissions. And what are they afraid of? I don't think they know how to handle this. And they do need a good communication line, but I'm also very concerned about the investigation too. I'm with you, Ashley. I'm absolutely with you. What are they doing? And why isn't this getting better, right? Why is it not getting better?
Why is it not getting better, right? Tomorrow's going to be a month, and that's devastating. It's devastating to the parents, and it's frustrating to the community, and it's upsetting to everybody else who cares deeply about this story and about the lives of these kids, and that there's justice for them. Laura Mathias, thank you for that. Really appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider, and don't forget to click the red subscribe button below.
All right. That's Ms. Banfield. What do you have to say about what she was saying about this police department, the PR person, and go from there?
Well, there was one thing she said that was loosely said, but I think it's kind of big. The pressure that the cops probably have to make the city happy because that college funds that town.
Yes, it does. Yeah, that's
You know what
obvious.
I mean? And so I can't imagine the pressure the police are having coming from all ends.
Yes, yes,
So,
yes. How do you feel about the no flyers, no reward? I made a video about that the other day, as
don't
they're
like
saying
it.
in this commentary. Well, as you're saying, this town is ran off funding from the school. Many people are there living, coming in and out of the town as students, grad students, maybe doing work with the college, writing papers, thesis, on and on. Is it they don't want bad media press because they need people to apply to the school and return to the school?
I totally think so.
Mhm.
Sadly,
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah,
But
because one
again, they're putting
law official said sometimes they only post rewards when it's starting to go cold and they're not getting any tips, any leads.
okay. Well, I mean, we're talking about 4 lives here, and they were
Mhm.
pretty academic. They're pretty big in the school, so that kind of ticks me off that they're what a mess. What an absolute mess. I don't think it's fair. I think I'd be very angry as a parent. You
Yeah.
know, they pay all that money for their kids to go to school or whoever, and you know, no, this is what happened there. It's not going to go away. It did. It's real.
Yeah.
You know. What do you think about the flyers?
I think it's sad. I think they need to go up. I mean,
Yeah.
we cannot worry about the image right now because the image is tainted. You have a killer on the loose. You don't even know who the killer is.
Right.
You don't know if the killer's young, old. I'm going to ask you that. How old do you think the killer is?
I think it's somebody under 30.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have someone running around killing people. Will he kill again? Possibly. You've killed 4. I'm not going to sit here and think the person wouldn't kill again. You've killed 4 people. And if the target is only 1, then that means you took out 3 innocent people.
Yep.
If it was 2 targets, you still killed 2 people.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, but all the other stuff can wait. It happened. You know, it this is life, and life is weird right now. And there's a lot of crazy stuff going on, and
And where is he at?
yeah, they're not safe. So put the flyers up. What if this is weighing on someone's mind all the time who has information, and they have a break on campus going to class, they see that flyer, and they just decided that moment, I'm done. I'm telling what I know. They need those flyers up.
Okay. I was trying to find anything else to play that's not too winded. I've got everything basically posted to my, because I'm already 2 hours and 22 minutes in. I'm going to end it here shortly, but I wanted to make sure I brought the basic information in as far as all the people that are involved and the investigators going back to the case. It's just everything that I can bring of relevance to this. I want to make sure I'm bringing everything. Let's see what Ms. Vargas has to say about people helping. Because as this one woman said, Banfield is saying, you want us to help give information, but then you're saying you don't want to answer any more information. You don't want to answer any more questions. Well, he can't let you ask because he can't tell you anything.
Right.
They just want you to give the tips if it's viable. But as far as us explaining something to you, no, we're not. We're not going to tell you about a suspect, a profile, what we've been taking out of the house, what's in the house, any evidence that's come back, anything that's panning out. No, we're not going to tell you anything because we can't. But yes, we want you to give us tips.
Well, she kind of wants to barter, and it's not always going to be that way,
Right. I'm going to play this 1 minute of content, then I'm going to check out of here. Okay. This is Ms. Vargas from ABC. She's going to give us her commentary. Thank you all for joining me.
The longer this goes, the colder
some of the.
Let's bring in News Nation contributor Elizabeth Vargas to take a deeper dive. Nearly 6,000 cases in this country go unsolved with someone getting away with murder. This white car and its driver could be a big lead in this case. I know Brian Hinton also confirmed that the door was left open to the home where those bodies were found, but we don't know much else. So how important is time to this case, specifically with catching up with the driver of that white vehicle?
Well, time is of the essence, Adrian, but we're 3 weeks past, 3.5 weeks now, past the murders, and time is ticking, as they say. The clock is ticking, and the longer this goes, the colder some of these leads can be. We don't know the significance of this white car. We don't know what it might mean. The PD is keeping a lot of this info close to its vest, which is not unusual. The police department only wants to reveal enough to get help from the public. They don't want to do anything that could put information out there that only the killer would know and might hurt the case later on down the line. But listen, this kind of public plea for help is critically important. That killer is out there someplace, eating, sleeping, filling up their gas tank, interacting with human beings on a regular basis. Somebody in that killer's sphere may notice something. Somebody acting oddly may notice the car, and calling in is critical. But you only have to remember the Gabby Petito case. People really, piled in, and a lot of witnesses were able to help locate the van that the couple had been driving and locate the camping grounds where it had been staying, and in many ways helped locate the body of Gabby Petito. So asking the public for help is critical and is important. As of yet, in this case, it's yet to pay out.
I recall the horrific 2011 murder of an 8-year-old boy, Leibby Kleidsky. He was a Hasidic Jewish boy. The case made national headlines. He was in Brooklyn, and it was a man in the community who actually helped police track down the killer. So how many big cases like these are actually solved from the public, from people who you say, again, you just mentioned, bringing in tips or finding out information that can help investigators?
Many, and in this case, I think it's going to be crucial. Clearly, whatever they have found at the crime scene has not led them to the killer yet. Whatever DNA evidence they may have found at the crime scene, they haven't been able to match to anybody because they don't have a match in the database, assumably. This is information for the public is crucial, and we say this all the time. If you see something, call police. And as I just said, this killer is out there someplace, unless they're living in a campsite in the middle of nowhere, interacting with people. And even if so, we'll probably need to go get supplies or something. Somebody somewhere is seeing this person and may notice this person, and needs to call into police with any information about this person, no matter how insignificant that information may seem. Trust me, the police are getting a lot of calls, as they've said, a lot of calls. Obviously, most of those calls have not led to anything. There's no call too small. There's no tip too insignificant. It could lead to the killer.
And one more question for you, Elizabeth. In terms of how many weeks go by when a case is not solved, how long will investigators continue to just look over all the evidence that they've gathered from this home before they have to kind of press pause on this and await more information to come to them from tips?
Well, that's a slow and inexorable process. In this case, we do know there's already been a drawdown in the number of detectives from the Moscow PD working the case, but there's been an increase in the number of federal agents working on the case. This is a big case, Adrian. These are 4 kids who were killed in their beds, in their apartment, in their home, outside the University of Idaho campus. This is a big, big case. It's not going to fade away. Having said that, we've seen other big, big cases. The John Benet Ramsey case comes to mind that remain unsolved to this day. Just because the case gets massive media attention, just because the case is hugely important and significant in many ways, doesn't mean it will be solved. There are cases, Adrian, that can sometimes go years and decades before they're solved. I just pray for the family's sake that some sort of tip, some sort of break is going to come in this case sooner rather than later.
Elizabeth Vargas, thank you so much for your time this morning. Thank you for watching.
All right, everybody, News Nation. Ms. Vargas was the guest. There's a lot of information to dissect in this case, evidence to process. In this video, you will see agents working inside of the house, no curtains up to the windows, no blinds, have the little yellow plastic markers where you mark evidence at a crime scene. What are they gathering? When are they going to leave the house altogether? This is also an issue that the landlord wants his home back, her home back. Why haven't we heard anything from the landlord? That was asked in the chat earlier. Could this be the landlord is telling them, please hurry up, I need my house back, I need to re-rent the house? Will he re-rent the house? One owner of the house? How many owners of the house? Will the house be re-rented? Did they pressure? They pressure the police department, FBI, to process the house? Should the house be released soon, letting go of mementos of the kids, wrapping up the investigation soon, perhaps? Should the house be turned over? Go ahead, California.
Undecided.
Undecided? Okay.
I mean, it's.
What about the landlord? What about the landlord? Do you think he's pressured them that he wants his house back, wants to sell it or re-rent it?
Early on, somebody had dug him up, and it was a single man, and he lived in another state. So, I don't know if he has like a management company running it from.
Yeah, because sometimes they are ran by management companies, but still somebody owns it still.
Right. I think it should probably be demoed, but I don't know how that works financially. If they were to demo it, I mean, it's always going to be that.
Well, the city will have to step in and make a bid and an arrangement with the owner that will pay you so much for the house, and then they would tear it down.
Oh, I see.
That would be the alternative. That happened in Knoxville with the killings of the two Caucasian couple that were brutally murdered by a gang of people. The city stepped in and tore the house down.
That's interesting. I bet
actually they'd have to pay the owner.
Okay. I think that's what needs to happen. Just let the owner go, pay him off, and then demo, make a park.
Yeah. But the sad thing is somebody else will come along and buy the property and put something on it. It still will be tainted.
Yeah, you're right.
It may not be the actual structure that the kids died in, but it's still tainted land.
But you don't want something to gawk at. And
that's all it is now. It's going to be people taking pictures, driving by out of curiosity. Yeah. And let's talk about the neighbors too that live beside it, besides the person that owns it not coming forward. Why hasn't this person come forward to speak and give his or her condolences? Because I think that would have been the right thing to do, was to give your condolences for the people that lived in your damn house. And if it was a management company, same thing.
Right.
Why no mention of the kids and you own and or manage this property? That's very disrespectful not to even say anything about the deaths of these kids.
You're right. Even just a statement,
That's it. Just like to give my condolences to the people that help pay my damn bills. How about that?
That's such a good point.
Because without the money from those kids, he didn't eat.
You're right. That's such a good point, man. Wow.
That's why I said there's so many facets to the story to touch on.
There are.
What about the neighbors that live by? You don't know who did this, especially let's just say it wasn't Target, it's random. Then that means they can be out here getting ready to kill somebody else. Can you imagine living next door to this damn house? The houses that live there, you can see the peripheral, the drone footage. There's people that live, they're all tucked in, packed in.
Yeah.
That would be scary as hell.
Oh, I'd be having a panic attack every single night. I totally would.
Yes.
I could not handle that. No.
Yes.
No. Mm-mm.
And then somebody sees something and haven't said anything.
Yeah.
Especially if I don't really care for the people that lived at the house. Bingo card.
Mm-hmm.
You are a problem. You made a lot of noise. No, I don't care that you died. Let's keep it real. Not to be nasty, but you have people who think like this.
Yep, you do.
Because I talk to people all the time who have no empathy for nothing that other people go through. Like one acquaintance said to me, it's not my family, don't concern me.
But see,
I don't know nothing about it. And basically he's telling you, I don't care. 2 people killed themselves, died in this house. Something that happened here recently in Knoxville. It ain't my friends, it ain't my family. So therefore, it's not my business.
I'm telling you, it's more common than people want to believe. It really is. It's creepy, but it's true.
But we know this from people who later come out and give information that they had pertaining to somebody enabling the killer or an abuser. Because people abuse people every day are enabled. So to me, it's no different than murdering somebody. You think it's okay to beat up kids and stomp kids around and say, well, it ain't the same as murdering them. Well, if you stomp him enough, he will be dead. You get beat up enough, you can end up dead. So what's the difference?
Yeah.
But you have people that have that type of mindset. Well, they ain't dead yet.
Right. It's true. It's true. You see it, you hear it all the time. And it's a weird world. And I think I'm just myself, and probably speaking for a lot of others, just trying to navigate through this trippy new mindset that everybody's got. Not everybody, but a lot of people, you know, very cold.
Well, how do you feel about social media? Because right now I'm very disappointed with people who keep latching on to these the stalking and doxing of people and putting people on blast that have either immersed themselves in the case or people just picked them out and other people jumped on board to pluck them like a chicken and be like, yeah, he's the killer. Yeah, he did it. Yeah, he's creepy. Yeah, he was standing around. Yeah. But you've done this with so many people. How can you pinpoint one, the Jack character, this character? You're throwing daggers at any random person that knew these people. You've accused the father of killing him. You've accused the mother, Xana's mother, being involved. It was drug related. You've accused one of Ethan's brothers or frat brothers for doing it or have knowledge thereof. Oh, they hide stuff. Oh, they're secretive. Well, they're supposed to be secretive. It's an organization. It's a secret organization. Everybody knows there's secret protocols with sororities and fraternities. That's a part of the order.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that they know what happened. Now we get information that he was at the party allegedly all the way up until almost 2:00. Is that true? Who's going to put their stamp on that?
It's just damned if you do and damned if you don't. And these are really young people trying to make decisions that someone at like in my age, you know, in my 50s, I don't know if I could make quick, rash, good decisions under these circumstances. Like, I don't know. And these are really pressured. It's just so hard. But I feel like, I don't know, that one Jeremy guy, I felt so bad. People were just saying the most horrible things.
Yeah, but he has to know better. He's too old not to know. You don't play these games with the media.
Yeah, you're right.
If you don't know anything, you don't have any business talking to 4 different people. Why would you go? Let's be truthful. What reasoning would you have to talk to 5, 6 agents of news and you don't know anything? Just think about that for a minute.
Absolutely.
That's just like me right now. A neighbor got killed across the street. Somebody approaches me walking outside and asks me, do you know anything about what happened? And I tell you, no, I don't know anything. I either can walk away at that point or indulge the reporter. If I indulge the reporter by saying, I don't live here, then they start asking you, well, did you hear anything? Do you ever? And you still say no. Well, how long you live in the neighborhood? The point is, once you finish, after you decided to talk, you should not say nothing else to anybody else because you didn't have anything of use to tell.
You're right.
Until you start nitpicking and then dropping a little seed here, a little seed there. And that's when people are going to start to wonder if you're being truthful. Because if you have anything to say of value, it's truthful, say it one time and be done with it.
Yeah, you're right.
The only time you should be talking to different news agents if you have knowledge of something pertaining to the crime in the house.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're very right. He did. He shouldn't have done that. And I mean, just a warning for all of us going forward.
Yes.
That, you know what? No means no, but not with reporters. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And just don't.
I just wouldn't keep talking if I don't know anything. That makes no sense to say, well, they kept coming up to me. I wanted to be nice. That makes no sense. You're a grown up and you know better. You knew you didn't have anything valuable to bring to the situation. Why are you talking to all these different news people? So I feel like he set himself up for this because I just wouldn't do it. One time you say something, okay, that's it. I don't know anything. And he kept saying, well, I didn't know anything. Okay, but you're talking to 4 or 5 different people. Then he went and put a long ass social media post up to where it was forever. Mr. Ickamel was playing it on his channel 2 weeks or so ago. The thing was so long.
Yeah.
So that's when people started getting suspicious of him. Like, okay, is he clout chasing or he knows something? Because you don't have to write no 8-page love letter to Facebook to prove you don't know anything. You ain't seen nothing.
Oh, I forgot about that. You're right. That was
that made him look suspicious because it was too winded.
It was.
It was too winded. Winded.
Yep.
Now he's taking his DNA in, which was noble of him, but he didn't think. Had I kept my mouth closed, I wouldn't be public enemy number 1. They could look at the house all day and try to figure out who lives here and Google search this and try to figure out what they want. But if I keep my mouth closed, I don't give them anything to go with.
And we can all learn from that.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's
it's like anything. Once you start talking, there's going to be a recorder. There's going to be somebody that's going to repeat it, tell it, run with it, accuse you of something. And now you got to sit here and try to defend yourself against gossip when all you had to do was keep quiet.
Yep. It's so true. I mean, if you know something, just instead of passing it along, just take it to the cops. just, they have so many ways. You could email them. I mean, there's so many ways. But instead of passing it along to a friend or neighbor, just turn it directly in.
Yeah. And that's where I have the problem with these types of stories. People coming out and the police not telling us this is information they had and sat on it. So I'm going to go there. White Elantra, black truck, scream, no scream, door open. Were these things called into the police day one or just now?
Yep.
Ethan allegedly sending a text to the friend. Did that friend call the police day one? If none of these people called the police day one, when they heard of the children being deceased, murdered, I'm not getting ready to validate anything that they have said to the Idaho Statesman, the Daily Mail UK, or anybody else.
That's true. And I kind of dismissed that anyway right away when I heard it a while back, because he said he felt that Ethan was there. You can't feel.
Oh, he felt. I see what you're saying. Somebody said something about that in the chat. Okay.
Yeah, like you just kind of assumed. Well, that right now, done, out.
Well, see, like I told people, when you are living your best life, you're doing you don't have to stand account to anybody because you're grown. So therefore, you don't have to leave a blueprint of what you did on the 15th, 14th, 12th, whatever, because you have no intentions of dying, being murdered.
Right.
So there's nothing to leave. I don't have to call my mother to say, hey, I'm taking my girlfriend out on a date. Hey, I'm going out with my boyfriend. Hey, we're going to the picture show. Hey, we're going to sit at the river, look at the stars.
Yeah.
So I want to know, how do you all have a time of when Kaylee, Maddie got home and verification that they got home at 1:45? Because to go on and on about we don't know where they were, when they left the party, well, then how do you know they made it home at 1:45? Doorbell camera inside of the house, outside of the house, camera in their room, or GPS from the phone? Do they have pings back? But then if they have pings back, that contradicts why you wouldn't know when they left the frat house.
I know, you're right. Like I've been wondering the same thing. How do they know? And then that you could see in the window, there was a Jack in the Box bag with Xana's name on it. And that was sitting on the kitchen counter. And it's like, well, maybe they went to Jack in the Box. I don't know, because nothing's been confirmed. And that's why I'm so excited.
So I'm thinking doorbell cameras of somebody in the neighborhood, seeing maybe them drive by, because you also hear Banfield mentioning mold and method on how they got home. If indeed they did stay at the party, did they take a ride share, or did one of the kids drive their car to the party? And as I told people, as far as the suspect, 4 or 5 cars parked in the yard. Why would you risk going into this house even as a random stranger?
Right.
Some of the cars look like cars that guys would drive. So if I don't know the people in the house, how do I know that's not 5 guys living here?
Exactly. You don't know what you're walking into. You do.
Exactly.
That's everything right there.
Exactly.
Wow. It's crazy.
So imagine the killer walking around, hasn't been apprehended, or have they gotten close and been asking certain persons questions that we don't know about, and the killer is afraid. Do you believe the killer is afraid or has remorse?
No. Afraid. Yeah, not really. Because think about it. Like, dude, you killed 4 people. What are you afraid of? Jail?
Yeah.
Like, you would never do that if you were afraid of giving
That's why I told somebody, you can ask 1,000 questions about the perpetrator. So let's go here. Who is the perpetrator?
What do you mean? Like,
Who is he? Random? Knows them what?
Oh, I know. I think he knows them. Oh, yeah.
And what's the motive?
There's some ugly revenge or doing it for someone. Not like an actual hit, not like a formal hit, but just kind of like, yeah, I don't like him anyway. I'll do it. I've read enough true crime books in my life.
What would you think of the 2 girls in that fit in that category? The 2 survivors.
Possibly.
Well, let's say that one of them brought somebody home, because I threw out that theory last week. What if they brought somebody home and he wanted to play funny games with the girls? He knew there was upstairs. He had access to the house, pretended to go to sleep, waited till one of the girls went to sleep, and then went upstairs and went off. But then we'd have to ask, what would his motive be?
Just sick in the head, really.
Yeah. Or did somebody infiltrate the girls on the bottom floor, came over just to get to the people on top?
That's possible too.
Who's the target?
All of them.
All of them. Why?
What they represent.
What is that?
I think people look at them from the comments I've seen that they're, spoiled.
But
And
let's be truthful.
okay.
There are a lot of nice looking kids at that school, I'm sure, of 11,000.
Yeah.
A lot of them are probably popular. A lot of them probably got nice cars. A lot of them probably got great parents or come from fine homes. You'd be knocking off a whole lot of kids. You see where I'm going with that?
You're right. That's a great point too. That's a great point. So why them?
Right. Why them? Because I tell myself it could be just affiliation. They're all grouped in together.
Yeah.
I don't like none of them, but maybe there's this one I stabbed up more.
Yeah.
Which was a female, one that's pretty.
Yeah, like I haven't read too much into her getting it worse because there's so many things that could have caused
Yes,
that.
fighting back will give you more wounds.
Absolutely.
But unless there's something we haven't been told, such as she was brutally stabbed, above the chest area, stomach and up.
Yeah.
So it was a mutilated body, then one could say, okay, the person took more time on this victim for a specific reason.
Right. So that one, yeah, I haven't hung up on that one too much. Aside from thinking it's absolutely horrific, but the why them, you got me there. You got me there. That one I'm going to put.
How did he enter? Front door or the balcony doors or window?
Depends on your theory. But
Okay.
I'm thinking walked right into the slider. I don't think that's
So that means the girls didn't leave it unlocked. Why would they leave a door unlocked knowing they're all coming and going and other people live in the house? So that means you've put other people's lives at risk for not locking a door. Let's keep it real. That is a frivolous thing to do.
Yeah, it is. It is. But a lot of people do it. I mean,
yes, they do.
I mean, I have to chew out some friends all the time who are careless like that. And I'm opposite. I lock everything all the time. I'm just the opposite.
Do you believe that one of them had a stalker?
Not really.
Okay.
Not
So
really.
that claim the father had made, do you think the daughter, Kaylee, exaggerated having a stalker?
That's a good point because I thought maybe, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a loosely thrown around term.
Well, it can be. And young people are known to be exaggerators too. It's not to be disrespectful to any of the decedents, but there are people who exaggerate. And what if we find out that one of our little friends is known to be a pathological liar?
That's true.
See, those are the things that people don't want to talk about because they were brutally killed. But your past and your demeanor will come into play if indeed you get a suspect and they give a motive for why they killed the people.
No, what you just said is exactly what I relate on is people don't want to acknowledge those things because they're victims.
But that is why a lot of people are dead, though. Let's be truthful.
Right.
For most of the people that I've seen here in my area dead, they died not just because a person wanted to kill them. They had a reason. It doesn't mean the reason was right and ethical or moral.
Yeah.
But that was their motivation for killing them. And a lot of it was revenge. Somebody said something to them out of the way. Somebody did something to them.
Right.
A lot of people are killed for those reasons.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for smallest things. Like, so just because it doesn't make sense to you doesn't mean it didn't.
Right. It's not supposed to make sense to you because you're not thinking on that level of killing anyone.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you think they bullied someone?
Do I think they what?
Bullied someone, social media, at a party,
yeah,
at a function.
I do think that's a possibility.
Yes, because that's why I said, who is the loudest, the one that's quiet, mild-mannered, most boisterous, potty mouth, mean? Do we have a mean girl in the group?
Yep.
Or had a mean girl in the group?
Yep.
Do we have girls who were followers and not leaders and spoke up for themselves?
Yep. I think all that applies. All of it. Absolutely. Anytime you have a group, there's a hierarchy.
Exactly.
So all that applies.
Yeah. Do you think he took clothes with him, the killer?
No, not
Because there's
clothes.
a dumpster. I want you to check out one of my videos I made last week. There's a dumpster that sits right across the street. You can literally just walk out of the house and throw trash into a blue dumpster. I believe, belongs to the apartment complex that sits directly across the street, but it's the back of the building that faces their house. The killer could have lied in wait looking out of a window. Stay woke. Without a telescope.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Rows of windows to just sit and gawk. So the killer take anything such as a backpack,
Right.
Did he take his clothes off? Throw him
Yeah.
in that dumpster.
Right.
Throw the weapon in there. Then you got to ask, how did he get there? What was his mode of travel, the perpetrator? On foot or he drove?
Yeah. I'm thinking, I don't know. I think on foot, to be honest
Okay.
with you.
Well, that means he lives close by or he parked his
Yep.
car somewhere safe without worrying about getting a ticket.
Right.
As I said, the apartment complex that sits to the right of the property, perfect place to park your car and just sit there and watch them come and go and make your move and walk on down to the back of
Oh,
the
yeah.
house.
No one's going to think anything of it.
Right.
And, honestly, Ethan and Xana could have sat in their car for a long time when they got home. So you really don't know what time they entered.
That's why I said you got to bring forth the receipt to the 1:45 a.m. that they made it home. Wasn't a doorbell camera. My understanding, that's what clocked the two girls home, was somebody's doorbell camera.
Yeah, I've seen that one. I
Mhm.
saw the one that is now not in the pictures. Or it what like there you could see it was a screw in to the front light, the porch light bulb. Yeah.
Mhm.
So and I don't want the cops to tell us everything if it jeopardizes.
But wouldn't it jeopardize the killer's still loose? So he knows what to look for if you're running your mouth and you're telling everything.
Yeah. It's just so
Footprints outside. Did he leave anything? Did he smoke a cigarette while waiting if he waited? Or did he plan it? How long was it planned? Do you think it was planned? Or do you think it was spur of the moment?
Oh, I think it was planned,
Or
definitely.
how long?
But I don't think it was planned that long. But I
Okay.
think it was planned.
So you believe he planned it. He didn't drive. He was on foot. You think he went through the second floor level. The door was unlocked.
Yeah.
So he went to the second floor first and killed somebody, or he went to the third first and then made his way down and killed somebody. See, one thing people fail to realize is that Ethan would make noise fighting him because he's a big guy.
Yeah.
We don't know if he knocked over anything, if they knocked over a table. See, nobody
Right.
thinks about none of that.
Yeah, I think that by the time Ethan got there, that some of the killings were already done. Well, some of them. The two girls were already. I think he killed them first because I think that's
The two girls were allegedly came in last.
Oh, dang it! I'm back.
My understanding, when they first got out, they made it seem like they got there first. Then they changed it and said no, they got there last. So we're to believe that Ethan and the girl got there first. Now you got to decide who was killed first. Did the killer walk in on the second level, but went upstairs first and then came down and killed the second people? So you don't know which order he went in.
You're right. And the thing that's hard too is like you hear things, you know things, and then you have to unknow them and unhear them.
Well, that's the thing, because you got to say, where was Ethan? Was he already out when the killer walked in and they looked at each other? So then he had to remove him.
Yeah.
Or did he go upstairs, kill the kids first, the girls first, and then Ethan or somebody heard the noise and then came out to inspect and maybe said, hey, what the hell's going on up there? Then the killer came down and roughed him up, then killed the girl. Because if the blood went on the outside of the door, outside of the wall, that means not Maddie, but Xana was out of her bed. So now you got to explain how the hell she got out of her bed.
Yeah.
So that's two out of the bed that's in the same room. One could say, who's to say that they were already up? Maybe they heard the killings upstairs first and got up to inquire what the noise was.
I definitely think something like that happened. Somebody heard something, got out.
And you want me to believe they weren't screaming? He covered their mouth with two girls in the bed? No way.
Right. Nah.
Because you can't cover two mouths and stab at the same time.
No, and they were said to be really feisty girls, a couple of them anyway. Kaylee's family and Xana's family said they were very feisty girls. So, and you're not feisty in silence, Mm-hmm. I know you always think you know what you would do. And if in my head, I think I would throw everything around like a psycho. Just, I don't know. So I would like to hear how the conditions of the rooms were. Was everything in disarray or was it just blood?
And that's the thing they're not telling you. They're not telling you that somebody broke something. Somebody broke a coffee table, end table. If the two fought in the hallway or the kitchen area. If the killer maybe confronted Ethan first, saw him or Ethan saw him going up the stairs or walking. Or maybe he tried to tackle him like, what are you doing here? You don't know. Did he recognize the person? Hey, what are you doing here? Boom. He's fighting them. then who was the actual target. See, you don't know the sequence of anything to say why the two were killed. Because if he was dead in a hallway or an open space, the girl laid on the wall. Did she lay on the wall? Then you got to show how she got out of the bed for the blood to make it to the outside.
Yeah, and that's also why I don't like. I know what the coroner said initially that they were all in their beds, but how? Half in, half out, curled up in a corner. Like there's so many ways that you could be in a bed.
Yeah,
you know?
but you can't explain to me two people dying in the bed because somebody should have been trying to get out of there.
Oh yeah.
You can't tell me he walked in the dark and jumped on these one. Then what was the other one doing?
Yeah, like it wasn't that easy for him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the part that's scary, is knowing that this person went into the house for whatever reason, killed all 4 people, is wanting to know the sequence of the events, which is very macabre, of course, but you want to know who was killed first, because that's going to show you the intent on who was killed first. Was somebody already up? What 2 people talking? Did somebody go get a drink of water? Did somebody hear something? Did somebody see him? He saw them first. See, how did it go?
Yeah, was he?
Somebody's going to make noise.
It's true. Like, did he like just brazenly just go in and go crazy, or was he sneaky and caught by Ethan? You know?
Yeah. So you don't know, because you got to have the killer to tell the story. You got to have a survivor, and the 2 survivors didn't hear anything. Bingo card.
Yep. It all means something.
Yes, of course it does. And what if we find out that they do know something and they're lying?
They're going to be a big problem.
Oh, this is a very big problem.
Like not even just like legally, but socially, there's going to be a problem. In all kinds of ways too, you know, because people are going to be let down, because we're going to have to acknowledge as a society that people aren't willing to go to bat for one another, you know, or defend each other and the turn the other cheek kind of thing. It's gone too far.
Yes. Do you think these girls fear for their safety? Or they believe that these girls was targeted and nobody's coming after them?
I don't feel like they're fearing that hard.
Okay. Do you think they're coming back to the school?
Probably not.
Do you think Ethan's siblings, his other twins, are coming back to the school?
I actually think they probably will.
Okay.
Just because there's 2 of them, you know, that they're stronger.
But that's a reminder coming back to that same school.
Oh, that's a good point.
Do you think other students will drop out or have left for good?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And it might not just be up to them. It might be up to whoever is financing them being there.
Yeah. Well, when you're an adult, you apply for your own unless you have parents that pay your way.
Right.
And I would say it'd be very expensive to pay for 3 kids' college education unless
yeah.
your parents are very wealthy.
Right. Yep. Big time.
Do you think the flyers and rewards should go up now?
1000%.
Do you think they'll find the killer?
Oh, yeah.
Is the killer in the state, out of the state?
In the state.
Outside the town, inside of the town?
Outside of the town.
Why?
Afraid of, I think they're close though. You know what I mean?
What do you say? You think they lived outside of the town before the murders?
No, but I think that they're found a clever way to not be there. You know, just like how family vacation or, you know, faking having COVID or, you know, like there's some kind of excuse to get them out of there.
Okay. Yes, I see you all down in the chat. Yes, if a person slit your throat, yes, naturally you wouldn't be able to scream. But I'm still saying 2 people in a bed, did one ever try to get out of the room? That's the point. If they woke up, because you're pounding somebody, perhaps, let's say if they were pounding them with a knife, I would think that might ajar a person and wake them, but we don't know because we weren't there.
Right.
Thank you, California, for joining me.
I'm so stoked I came up. Thank you. I'll step down, let you say your
Thank you so much. Okay, bye. Thank you so much.
Bye,
Bye. Bye. All right, everybody. That was California Thunder. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been a very interesting live stream. Thank you for following the content. Welcome all new viewers and subs. God bless all of you. Happy holidays. Please be aware of your surroundings when shopping. Do not leave parcels out on the seats, on the floorboards. Put everything in your trunk. Take someone out with you. If it's nighttime, do not look for your keys inside of a parking lot or near your car. Always get receipts for all your purchases. I also recommend carrying cash because they do a lot of funny stuff with fraud and your debit card. And you also want a receipt for all your purchases. Do not post to social media. Please be safe out there. This is a very diabolical case coming out of Moscow, Idaho. I do not know who the killer is. I don't know his motive. Do not know if there was more than one killer, more than one weapon used, where it was discarded, if it's a student, one of their friends, associates, boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, hookups, if they were involved in anything illegal. I do not know. That has not been introduced into the case. Naturally, the police department has not given us very much information pertaining to this investigation. But nonetheless, there's a killer out there. And if a killer has killed 4 people in one sitting, he definitely can kill again. It doesn't matter the motive. All he has to do is be provoked. If indeed the target was in the house or all were targets. 2 were targets. 3 were targets. He still killed them and didn't have to. But that's the point. We don't know the killer and we don't know why he took out a house full of kids but left 2 unharmed. Why is that? Why do we have 2 remaining victims? Survivors, rather. Do they know more than what they're telling the police? What version did they give the police? And does it still match today? So you have to ask all of those questions. Did they ever give conflicting statements to somebody else pertaining to that night? Did they bring in guests to spend the night? Did somebody else have a passcode key? Did the kids invite anybody else? Ethan, Xana, Kaylee, Maddie, did they invite somebody else to this house? Did they leave the door unlocked? Why? How did the perpetrator enter? Second floor, third floor, climb through a window. No break-in, no doors breached. How did the killer enter into this house? How did he escape? Foot, car, somebody waiting on him. Did he bring clothes? Did he wash up, eat there, take something, lounge? How long was he in the house? You have to ask all those questions. Did he leave a marker? Cover the victims up. Did he talk to the victims while he was killing them? See? Did the victims know their killer by face or voice? Build. Imagine that. Talking to your killer while he's killing you. Asking him, why are you doing this to me? Did these kids put out some type of karma to be killed? Did they mock somebody, bully somebody, play a funny game with somebody? Did they witness a crime? Killer came back. Who is the killer? And will he kill again? Is this the work of a serial killer? Don't live in the area, but pass through. Became fascinated with the women coming and going out of the house. Saw one of them at work, school, somewhere, business. Was there a stalker? Not been verified. Did Kaylee exaggerate this tale to her father just in small talk? 2 men have been investigated. They've been cleared. But know that anybody cleared can be re-investigated or spoken to pertaining to information and evidence brought forward. If you'd like to donate to this great network, Everyday Shenanigans, $ Big Angie, 129 Cash App. All stickers and chats are welcome during my live. Thank you for patronizing. Happy weekend. Please be safe. Please go to my community board for local information, national information. I have a movie of the week and a movie for the weekend, all playing on Tubi. Prayers for the Idaho 4, that there will be justice served, and may the truth be revealed. Even if you get a suspect, you may not get the motive. Please check my extensive library, 1,700 videos pertaining to true crime and various topics. And know that this is not a true crime channel. Thank you so much for patronizing. Who is the killer? Where is the killer? In state, out of state? Has he moved? Has his footprints changed? Movements changed? Is he talking about the killings? Has he said something to someone odd, out of the way, subversive, pertaining to the dead kids? Does somebody have a inkling that they know who the killer is, but scared to talk for fear for their safety? Has somebody given information to who they think the killer is and why? What will the police finally reveal to the general public pertaining to the deaths of these kids? Will they start giving us updates pertaining to these murders? And what will become of Mr. Gonsalves and his PI and attorney? Do you think he should have hired a PI and an attorney? And will the police build a better rapport with him or stop talking to him altogether? And how do the other family members feel about his wordings and things about the killer going upstairs, which I thought was very offensive, because that leads people to think he felt like his child shouldn't have been murdered, when all in all, none of the kids should have been murdered. But all of this lies with the killer. His mode of thinking was his own. So I don't have to agree with his reasoning. But nonetheless, he is diabolical, because he shouldn't have killed those kids. Even if this was an issue of bullying, bad joke, bad prank, couldn't get the girl, had the girl, wanted the girl, sick fascination with one of the girls, guy, whichever, shouldn't have killed these kids. But that's the whole point. The reasoning never has to be agreed upon or condoned. Thank you so much for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. If you see something, say something. Be a part of the solution, not the problem. Mind the children. Know that one phone call can save a life. Thank you so much. Be safe.